because of the relationship of Einstein's equation. Things get into the relativistic effects of its velocity, or if it's of energy. I'm not I'm not an expert in this area, but I do know based on the equation they're not the same. E equals mc squared explicitly states that they're not the same, because E doesn't just equal m, right? We all can agree E does not equal m. That equation would not work. It only works when you have E equals m times the speed of light squared. So the speed of light squared times mass is equal to energy.
You're currently also now debunking W equals mg by saying there's no mass there. You're literally debunking all of Einsteinian, Newtonian.
No, this is all related, because velocity
W equals mg. If I add energy to the object, and now it has more weight. If you're saying I didn't add more mass, W equals mg is debunked.
It's not.
Straight up debunked.
Well, I'm telling you, it's not debunked, because when things are every time they increase their velocity, there is more energy contained relative to somebody else. So it's all relativistic analysis.
So you're just saying words.
The Lorentz contraction
Just stop, man. Lorentz contraction. You're out of your mind, bro. Look.
No, I'm not.
I have something on a scale. It has an amount of mass. The gravity is the same and the weight is the same, right? If I add energy to it, and you're saying that's not mass, but the weight changes, you're debunking W equals mg right now in real time.
You've made a good point. I've acknowledged it. That internal
that's banging. That's a killer point right there. You're done.
No. So the question is why? Let's do a search together. Why a hot object has more energy, making it heavier?
Because according to W equals mg. Because according to W equals mg. I thought you stopped, Zanick.
Something has more energy.
Zanick, I thought you clearly stopped it.
No, I said, let's search together why. I understand the kinetic energy and the potential energy part of it, but I'm a little curious. I don't have an answer for you of why the higher temperature of an object having more energy makes it heavier.
Because there's energy, and because energy has mass. If not, you're debunking W equals mg.
Well, you're giving me the answer. Let's look at it. Let's look it up together. Why does a hot object weigh more? Remember, when you say weight, W equals mg. So we're obviously invoking gravity, right? And relativistic elements. So let's see what it says. Why does a object weigh more in physics? And what do you think it's going to say?
Because of Einstein's E equals mc squared. I think it's going to say because E equals mc squared, because the energy has mass. You're not going to get that scale to weigh more unless you add more mass, or you're debunking.
If you get that,
Zanick, I know you're interrupting me right now.
Can't even.
Please, Zanick, please.
Zanick, stop interrupting.
He was interrupting me. I posed a question, and I was.
Hey, this isn't a debate about moderation, bro.
If you don't put more mass on that scale and it weighs more, you just debunk W equals mg.
Says you.
Also, if you Google it, it tells you why it weighs more, because energy has mass. It literally says, it brings up Einstein's equivalence of E equals mc squared.
So the hot object weighs more in physics because the added thermal energy increases its mass according to E equals mc squared. This is because the thermal energy is kinetic energy of the object's particles. And the energy is equivalent to a tiny amount of mass.
You just read the thing that debunks you. You're done. You added more energy.
Hold on.
You added more mass.
Last sentence. However, this mass increase is so incredibly small that it's undetectable in real-world situations. Well, I don't have to look at that. Your point is taken. And this thermal energy is, I think it has relativistic implications, but I'm not positive about that. Why it actually would weigh more.
Dude, you just got cooked. It weighs more because you added more mass. If you didn't add more mass, you debunked W equals mg. Which one do you want to do? Do you want to not have added mass and W equals mg is debunked? Or do you want to have added mass and you're debunked about energy having mass? Which one?
But Jeremy, the thing is how you formulate it.
Hey,
just wrong to
hey,
say
hey, hey,
energy.
hey, hey, hey.
Yo, it's a
Chill.
one-on-one. We already called it. We already called it one-on-one. Thank you. Witsit. You can't respond to that, bro. There's no response. You're done.
Do you concede? Do you concede
He'll
defeat?
never concede.
No, I'm not
you
gonna
know,
concede.
Zanick.
Because we already know by definition that mass does not equal energy. However, if energy is added, some mass, some very almost insignificant amount of mass is increased. Why? I don't have the exact answer, but I do know it's not one to one. So energy is not mass. There's a mass equivalence.
I
And
didn't
it's
say
E equals
energy
MC.
was mass. I said energy has mass. Stop playing stupid word games. No one said energy is mass.
Energy has mass. So the question is whether
Yeah,
you
and we
have
know that because, sorry.
yeah. Yeah, I agree that it increases its mass. It was mass. You'd be able to increase it by whatever proportions that energy was added to the matter.
Okay,
And
so you concede on the first thing, then that energy does have mass.
okay, so maybe I could say energy has some mass. I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not
Okay,
I'm not
good.
gonna
That
die
didn't
on
take
that
long. That
statement,
only
but
took 20
I think
minutes.
based on what we're reading here, it's saying that that object with more energy will have immeasurable more
Dude,
mass.
how are you a seasoned vet in this? You are a vet in this shit. How are you not like steel manning your own shit right?
Am.
No,
I'm
you're not. You just
basically
argued with
telling
me for
you
20
that I
minutes about
agree with
energy doesn't
there is
have mass.
there is
You
an
just
immeasurable
argued with
amount of
me for
mass
20
added
minutes.
for.
You just argued with me for 20 minutes that energy doesn't have mass, and now you're conceding because I've broken it down for you, and now you're steel manning it right. But 20 minutes ago, you weren't.
I think there's some relativistic implications here that I'm not quite positive about.
All right, can you just acknowledge what he said directly, and it's
hold on,
okay? It's
I was still
okay.
I was still having a sentence there. The point is that it relates it to weight, and weight is referencing to a gravitational environment. So I think there might be, because this is Einstein's fundamental foundation for relativity, E equals mc squared. I think the energy that equivalence can be converted one to another. We've already agreed that mass can be converted to energy and energy can be converted to mass. We both know there's a relationship. That relationship is E equals mc squared. But you're saying that energy has mass. I don't think that is true, even though something that has more energy will weigh more. It adds a small amount of mass to it. I don't know what the relationship is, energy to mass, measured in kilos, but there is a relationship. I'm not. I'm just kind of. I'm kind of opting out of this one because I don't know enough about it to make the comment. You think you know it that it is. I disagree that mass is energy. It's not. They're not the same. And someone brought an analogy.
You're the only one who said about a dozen times now that energy is mass. I have never said those words other than to say I haven't said those words.
Really, I thought you did
I
say
said
that.
energy.
Was I wrong?
I said energy has mass.
What was the first statement you said? I said that you said.
You keep
My
saying
gosh.
energy is mass. I know.
Oh,
This is
okay, fine.
grueling.
You said so. Energy is mass. Energy has mass. Those are the two statements in contention here.
No, bro. You're the only one who keeps
No,
saying energy is
you are
mass. I
not
don't know
listening.
why.
Is it contention? I say you said energy is mass. You're saying energy has mass. Is that the difference? Is that what we're talking about? In essence,
Dude, you told me 20 minutes ago energy doesn't have mass.
you can't even answer a simple question?
I've only said
Okay.
energy. Go ahead. What's it?
Yeah, this has become redundant. This is literally you guys are saying the exact same thing you said 5 minutes ago. Like it was reset and it never happened. So Zanick, he's saying that for like 20 minutes you argue that energy doesn't have mass. And now, only after looking it up, you have changed your position and you are now admitting that energy does have mass. Is that
It
correct?
adds. No, just because it adds to the mass doesn't mean it has mass. I think, and my answer is I think there's a relativistic fundamental foundation to that that statement.
Like 1 minute ago, you said that energy does have mass.
It adds to the mass. And I said I think it's relativistic. The reason it
You
adds
said
to mass,
energy does have mass.
energy does have mass. He said energy has mass.
No, you said that.
No, I didn't.
Okay, so you're taking it back?
I said it adds to the mass. It doesn't mean it has mass. It has an equivalence. Energy has an equivalence to mass based on the equation E equals mc squared. We all agree to that. Jeremy's saying, I think he's saying now that energy has mass. I said he said energy is mass, and I said it was not mass. That's where those are the
Jeremy,
statements that are in conflict.
So he said energy doesn't have mass. He said energy does have mass, and now he's saying he didn't say that or he didn't mean that. So now he's saying energy doesn't have mass. Okay, Jeremy, good.
No, I didn't say that. You misrepresented what I said there as well.
It's all recorded.
That's what we came back to the recording. Go back to the recording. He said, I agree. I misrepresented his statement. He said energy has mass, and I said that he said energy is mass, and he didn't say that. Those are the two statements that are there in contention. So now we're clear. That's recorded. If you're recording it, like it matters. Who cares? I said if it has mass, it's due to relativistic factors. That's my statement. I don't know. I'm telling you, I do not know. I'm being honest intellectually. But I know that energy is not mass because energy has an equation based on.
That's the fifth time, dude. Jeremy said.
Yes, I want to make sure it's very clear.
Energy is mass.
You dove in when I'm finished, even though you heard it before. I can't say it again. That energy has a relationship to mass based on the equation. Thank you.
Do you not see how painful this would be to the audience where it's like, I heard 4 separate times you saying, you strawmanning Jeremy as though he said energy is mass. And he corrected you. He corrected you saying he never said that. And you just kept doing it. You just did it again. It's like, he didn't say that. So please stop pretending that you're refuting him by refuting the statement energy is mass.
Witsit, if you're gonna
he didn't say that
here,
because all you are doing
Witsit, him acting like he misheard me and thought I was saying energy is mass is just not even true, because we were arguing about it for like 15 minutes and with him saying energy doesn't have mass. Like he was like arguing.
Well, it's just a tactic to avoid just conceding.
No, okay, Witsit, since you want to be the judge and jury here, answer this question. It's a very simple question. Is the statement energy is mass or energy has mass, are they different? And if they are, how?
Of course they're different. And that's why I'm having to jump in, because I heard Jeremy correct you multiple times that he didn't say energy is mass. Never has said that, nor is he saying that.
Can you answer the
question?
And
then you repeatedly continued to claim that he was saying energy is mass and that you were refuting it. It is very clearly
oh my God.
just a tactic used to revise the conversation.
You're not listening.
To avoid
I asked you a simple
direct, honest concession. So as a unbiased moderator, I am asking you to please be honest and acknowledge what he actually said so we can move forward.
Listen, I asked you a simple question. You couldn't even do that. So
I'm not having a conversation with you.
Yeah, I'm talking to you. I'm asking you as a member of this forum to answer the question, because I did. If I was misrepresenting him, fine. But I'm asking you, would it be reasonable to assume that I read his statement as the same as mine? And I'm asking you again, one more time, and please don't give me any other answer than
no. The answer is no.
Or maybe hold on.
Be reasonable.
Hold on. Let me. So you can't help yourself. Hold on a second. Is the statement energy has mass or energy is mass? Are they different? And if they are, how? That's all I'm asking you. Don't come up with anything else.
Of course they're different. I don't need to discuss how, because I'm not debating you. You just need to stop straw manning.
So
dude,
if I'm wrong,
Zanick,
tell me why.
Zanick, my guy. This is simple. The whole room heard it. You continually strawman Jeremy as though he's saying energy is mass, even though we all heard him correct you multiple times, and you kept doing it anyway. It's just a tactic. It's just a time waster tactic. So just move forward.
Again, here's the reason. I did assume that those two statements are equivalent, that they're the same. That if energy is mass, then energy has mass. I wrongly stated those different words than he said because I thought they were the same. I'm asking you, what is the difference? If there is a difference, what is the difference? It's not a debate. I'm just
What do you
asking
mean, Liz?
you, since you're trying to moderate, and you can understand why I would think they were the same. And I believe they are.
Okay, well then you guys should debate whether or not it is. I would say one is a property of, and one is equivalent to, is the actual essence of. I'm not debating you though. So if you want to go back and forth with Jeremy, because you were
I'm not
continually
debating the
saying,
fact.
you actually just now made a distinction between is and has. Now you're saying they're the same thing. So it's like, okay, take
That's
that up
why
with
I
Jeremy.
said the things I did.
You're double speaking, man.
I'm not double speaking. I use those two sentences as being equivalent and the same, and that's what got Jeremy triggered to say, hey, I didn't say that. And he can
Okay,
rightfully say
ask
that because they
Jeremy.
are different. They are different. Hold on. They are different words. I equated them to one another. I could be wrong there. But when someone says is mass or has mass, I think they're the same. That's the same statement. So I
Okay,
misrepresented
if I
by
say Zanick has
misspeaking them. I
hair or
misspoke.
Zanick is hair, what's the
Yeah.
difference?
Yeah,
Stupidest question
exactly.
I've ever heard.
What?
4 more
If I
hours of
say
this.
Zanick Zanick has hair or Zanick is hair, are those the same thing?
No. So you're now
Right,
starting to explain the question
right.
I asked you for.
Well, you just claimed that those statements were the same.
Can we talk about
I
science
was
and not each
using.
other, please?
Oh my
Dude,
God!
We're not talking. How are we
this is
talking about each
tedium.
other?
Like the most pedantic. This is the most pedantic argument we think we've ever had in this
You
Discord.
did
It's
that,
because
bro.
you're changing the meaning of words. Energy has mass is partially accurate. Energy is mass is conceptually true. That's only in the concept. They're not. Yes, that's what the words mean.
Energy is not mass, though.
Okay, can we move
You
forward?
said
What's
energy
the
has
point?
mass and energy is mass are equivalent. If that's true, you're wrong. It's not
Okay, let's
true.
just do this. What's
Dude,
very
I only
obvious
brought
is that
this up.
Zanick realized that he wasn't able to rebut Jeremy, and then he started revising what Jeremy said, and he started changing what he claimed,
We
and
were
then he started trying to
discussing it.
deflect away. That is objectively what happened. It isn't anything new. I'm
No,
not
objectively,
done
I
talking. I'm not
admitted.
done talking. I'm not done. I've never, but okay, maybe 3 times in 7 years heard Zanick just straight up after a somewhat lengthy debate say that he was completely wrong. So it's
No, I
fine.
said I didn't. You're lying right there. You're lying because you can go back to the recording. I
Here's
said
how this
I
all
don't
started.
know. I do know that they say that when you have energy added to mass, that it will weigh more. So I said I don't know enough about it, but I'm thinking maybe because there's a relativistic element of this because they were
All right,
referring it to
cool.
weight.
Jeremy, he's saying he
So
doesn't
I
know,
definitely
so
conceded
he
to
can't
that.
dispute or rebut your argument because he doesn't know.
Thank you.
Yeah,
God.
that's fine. This all started off with me asking him, why are all your Glober friends trying to say that energy doesn't have mass? Which led to a 5-10 minute debate about him arguing saying it doesn't have mass. And now here we are with this. So I mean we can move on.
Yeah, now we're at
If Zanick
energy
doesn't know,
is
I don't know.
mass
All his other
equals energy has mass. It makes no sense.
In my discussion, I was equating the two. That could be incorrect. I said that could be
No,
incorrect because I
you
don't
don't
know.
know. You don't know.
I
So it's
don't know.
okay. You know.
There, leave it at
Right.
that.
So why are you pretending to sit here and participate in a debate about it?
Because what I do know is energy is not mass.
Dude, I'm being trolled, bro. This is retarded, bro.
Does
All
anyone
right,
enjoy
cool.
like the
where's
splitting hairs
where's
kind
the guy
of
that was trying to
semantical
white
argument?
knight?
That's what.
No, but
that's what
they
we do
don't
here.
care
We're
what
just
it
split
is.
hairs.
white knight for? Where's the guy that was trying to white knight for Xanax arguing with him, saying energy doesn't have mass? Bring that guy in.
Hello,
No, who
fellow,
was it?
your
Embo,
friendly
Embo or Snooze
neighborhood
or something?
Glober.
No,
Where's
it
our
was
friendly
me, but,
neighborhood Glober?
If it ain't
Yeah,
Zanick, it's
there he
Zanick.
is.
but no, forget it. Switch the
Like,
topic.
Oh, forget it. It's okay.
I honestly
Dude, all the
tried
Globers.
I honestly tried
Sorry, go
to
ahead.
discuss this with you, and you just said no, I want to have a one-on-one. So have your one-on-one.
Well, Zanuck ended up saying that he didn't know. So he's saying, okay, if you want to now jump in, you can. If you're saying that you don't know either, that's okay. Jeremy can take his victory lap and then we can move on.
No, I just wanted to say that this is a oversimplification. If you cannot just say energy has mass. Energy is equivalent to mass. And yes, adding energy also adds mass, but it's not just that you can say energy has mass. That is an oversimplified state, and that's what I'm refuting.
You want to provide any type of like substance, like it's oversimplified there because the
Google
truth
it.
is blank. Google it. Not my claim.
Yo, if energy doesn't have mass and you put it on the scale and now it weighs more, what exactly did you do?
Okay, I Googled it. He told me to Google it. Does energy have mass? Yes. According to Einstein's theory of mass energy equivalence, all forms of energy have an effective mass.
We've already been there, Witsit. That's old news right now. You already
He just
talked
told me
about
to
that.
Google it though.
No, but you have to Google in a different, more in a physics or more in a scientific reason. There's a
What? This
reason
was a
why this happened.
specific physics answer. It said, according to Einstein's theory of mass energy equivalence. What are you talking about?
Yes, it's still a very
That's not
general
physics.
Google.
That's not
Google result.
physicsy
You
enough.
can't base your life on doing Google and taking everything so literally. There's more to it than that.
Oh my
There's a
God, what a
reason.
projection. I know all of this as pseudoscientific fairy tale.
Okay, all right.
Okay, sounds good.
Why do you think it's pseudoscientific fairy tale?
Why do I think it? No, you there's some claim here on the table. E equals MC squared is a claim. So you can support it with actual empirical evidence, or I can toss in the trash, which is where it belongs, which is
Well,
where it started.
really, if that wasn't true, it's a fundamental foundation for how hydrogen fusion and fission will work. That is the reason why this does work.
No.
Oh,
No,
yeah,
that's not how that works.
no. So
That's not how that
incredulity
works.
is the reason.
That's not how that. No, I didn't say incredulity. What are you talking about? I didn't say anything about.
Incredulity.
I didn't appeal to incredulity.
You did. You said no. It doesn't work. You said no.
Okay. I didn't appeal to incredulity.
Fusion,
I'm sorry that you were lost.
Doesn't work on so nuclear fusion doesn't work on the principles of E equals MC squared.
Okay. Here's the deal, my guy. Do you know what affirming the consequent is?
Yes.
Okay. What is it?
Go ahead. Tell me what did go answer
I thought you
the
knew.
question. I don't want to get into I don't want to get into pissing the contest with you. Just tell me why it doesn't. Why it affirms the consequent. What is the
but are you sure? Well, okay, but you agree you couldn't say that you're not affirming the consequent if you don't know what it is, right?
I'm not saying either way. I'm saying you answer the question. Why is it affirming the consequent?
Okay.
Why is it
so affirming the consequent?
I'm not gonna play the game like you like to play it.
Stop interrupting me, man. Affirming the consequent is if P then Q. Q is true, therefore P is true.
Logic. We don't need to go into logic. Why is nuclear fusion?
That's what affirming the consequent is.
I know it is.
Logic.
So I want to know why you think nuclear fusion or fission.
Can you stop interrupting?
Hold on,
dude.
I'm not interrupting
you. I'm why do you do this? You're like I'm ignorant. I'm ignorant. I don't know. I don't understand things. Can you tell me? But I'm going to interrupt you and then tell you that you're wrong about it and that you shouldn't be saying what you're saying. Though I just asked you to do it.
That's projection right there. I said nuclear fission. Hold on. I'll give you the answer.
You're scared for me to actually answer it because you're going to get
I'm not going to get into a logic debate with you and Gregory.
You're like the guy at the park that you play one-on-one versus, and then they just start tackling you on game point.
No, I'm not tackling. I'm just going to step back behind the line and drain a three right now. I said
I have the ball. You loser.
I just got done. I started 3 words and you interrupted me. Let me just finish the sentence. I said nuclear fission is a good example, a great example, the ultimate example of E equals MC squared. You said no. Why do you say no?
I was trying to tell you. Let's see if you can sit still for a second. So affirming the consequent is if P then Q. Q is true, therefore P is true, right? So that's all you're doing is affirming the consequent when you say, okay, if relativity is true, then this will happen with nuclear energy. This happens with nuclear energy. Therefore, relativity is true. It is stupid. Okay.
No,
and then I can stop interrupting me.
I thought you were done. You finished the sentence, but
no, you didn't. No, you didn't.
Yes, I did.
Stop. You can use tons of examples for this and to explain why this is stupid and doesn't work. Let's say I drop an object, right? And in your paradigm, I'm going to use Newtonian gravity, right? an equation to map it out and explain supposedly how it happens or predict it. I can also use an Einsteinian equation to do that. Okay. I can also use, I can plug in some other fairy tale force. I can use an etheric force, right? A dynamic equation, and they can all do the same thing. But just because they all do the same thing, and I can use that to properly determine or predict the object falling, that doesn't equate to any of those being true. We know this because they're three different things. They can't all simultaneously be true. And why you can't just you can't just affirm the consequent. It's fallacious. That's all you're doing. Is some people use relativistic equations and nuclear energy. Therefore, the fact that we can, use nuclear energy, that proves that relativity must be true. That E equals mc squared must be true. That isn't accurate. Get it?
No, you straw man me to death, and you had several run-ons and points that I didn't even make. I never said these things. That's why it's called a straw man. No, what I said was because we have, and I can break down why nuclear fission is related to E equals mc squared. Why we can get the energy out of mass based on that equation. It's you're talking about relativity. You're talking about general relativity, special relativity. What relativistic attributes of this equation? Do you know what they are?
Dude, what do you know what are? That was the vaguest question known to man. Like, dude,
No. How does E
you're
equals mc
claiming
squared?
you can't do it. This is why I stopped talking to you, bro. Like, you
That's not I
can't
can't
do
do
it.
it. I can
You
do it.
literally
I can
can't.
easily give you the reason why and
I'm
the
saying you
equivalent
can't have a conversation. Like, you're not capable of controlling yourself.
You speak way too long about a simple point. You know that, don't you? All you have to
They,
do
yeah,
is tell me
some,
what you're
yeah,
saying.
they
You said,
justify your inability to have impulse control.
look, all you have is ad homs to argue with me. You're not talking.
That's
I gave you a statement. You said it was affirmative consequent. I said why, and then you went on a rant that I couldn't even follow because it was
I
just too.
haven't used
It was
one
just too
ad
a straw
hom,
man. It wasn't even.
bro.
It was not what I was talking about. You're still talking over me while I'm speaking.
I, I didn't use one ad hom. Okay, so I'll try
You did.
again. No, I
You did
didn't.
actually.
Hang on, real quick, Zanick. You can't say someone's talking over you if you're constantly like adding in little chimes while they're in the middle of speaking. Even if he is going really long and you're going really long, you both shouldn't be like chiming in while someone else is talking, unless it's for like clarification or something.
I was doing that. I didn't say a word till he was finished. Then I started saying
That's
something.
not
Another 3
true.
words into
I'm
it,
sorry,
like
but
you're
that's
doing now,
not true,
like you're
Zanick.
doing like you're doing right now. So I did do that, and then he started talking over me immediately.
That
Okay, I'm just
isn't what
clarifying.
happened.
That's not true. So why don't we just go one at a time? If someone's speaking, let them have the microphone and don't keep trying to rip it out of their hands.
Okay, you're making a positive claim that nuclear energy, nuclear fission proves E equals mc squared, a primary claim of relativity. That's your claim. So feel free to support that claim and stop shifting the burden of how I need to, prove it's not true. Just shifting the burden of proof, or just shifting the burden over to the party that challenges or denies a positive assertion. You support it. Go ahead.
Yes. So I said that nuclear fission proves E equals mc squared because the principle behind the nuclear fusion or fission gives you the amount of energy related to the amount of mass that has been disassembled by the interaction of the breaking up of an atom. That's where it comes from. That's what they use to actually create these nuclear weapons and nuclear processes to create energy. Nuclear power plants use nuclear fission to create energy based on E equals mc squared. The formula predicts precisely how much energy is released from this missing mass.
That
That's
it?
a very simple answer to your question.
That's your evidence.
That nuclear fission gives you a predictive and a very accurate way of converting mass to energy. And that's based on it almost follows the definition. You want energy? Well, it's related to whatever mass you have times the square of the speed of light. And that's the energy equivalence to mass.
Okay. So I don't know a ton about this, but I do know that there are examples within like the world of nuclear fission that don't match E equals mc squared. The amount of energy output does not match precisely what's predicted relative to mass. This is a fact. That's a fact.
Your argument. So that's the argument that I gave you an example of a description of why we know E equals mc squared is related to the amount of energy and mass, this equivalence, and how it's proven in everyday life because we have nuclear reactors, millions of them all over the world.
Pragmatic fallacy.
Well, no, it's not. So we know based on that equation how much energy we're going to get for doing a process called nuclear fission or fusion, for that matter.
No, we don't. I just said.
But okay, now you found a couple of outliers for whatever I don't know what those reasons are. You may know better than I do what those outliers, where those outliers happened and what they were. But you're saying because of that will dispel the theory and the equation as an example, as proof. In other words, for you, and I accept that. Now you can bring that forward. What were the examples? What were the explanations of why E equals mc squared wasn't followed in those reactions when they converted mass into energy? Was what nuclear fission is doing.
Yeah. So they claim that because of quantum effects that have to be accounted for, relativity alone does not sufficiently predict the energy output. This is like well known. So stop. So you claimed that it always matches precisely. That is a lie. It basically never matches, and they have to make corrections. Furthermore, even in the world that doesn't exist, where it did always match, you said that relativity is verified and proven by the fact that we use nuclear energy everywhere, which is a pragmatic fallacy, claiming that something is true simply because it works with practical use, right? That doesn't mean it's true. That was your argument, and address the first part first.
Okay, all right, yeah. So they do have these reactions, and it isn't exactly what the equation would dictate. And the reason for that is there's some leftover mass and energy, actually missing mass, as they call it, left over from it not being completely destroyed, and that is predicted. And so all the equation works out with this variable, kind of like. Maybe it's analogous to what they see in the universe with your galactic conversation the other day. They throw the dark matter or whatever the factor. There is a missing mass factor. Are they measuring? Are they seeing it? Can they touch it? No, but they do know that the mass is missing, right, based on the reactions and how much energy they do get out of it, and they have an answer for that. I don't know, the details of it, but yes, it's not exactly the amount of energy that comes out of a specific amount of known mass. There's something called the missing mass after these processes, and through all the practical application of this is pretty solid. All these reactors have the same qualities. There's nothing like well, we just don't know. It's where did it go? They know it. It's a factor. They know it happens. It's in the equation as well of their equations, plus this missing element that didn't completely destroy the mass in its entirety.
Okay, so again, pragmatic fallacy is when someone claims something is true just because it's useful, right? As practical. No, you didn't. You just said it again and then said it's pretty valid or something like that. Like you didn't address that it's fundamentally fallacious and it doesn't equate to a truth claim.
Fallacious?
What?
No,
you don't know why a pragmatic fallacy is fallacious.
There's a reason why it doesn't match the exact equation, because maybe it's not completely 100% efficient.
Stop interrupting me, man, because you just repeat stuff and you're basically just vocalize a lack of understanding. So
you gave me a straw man.
Stop. No, you just conflated the things, right? You're trying to act like you're rebutting the pragmatic fallacy, and then you start talking about how it doesn't match. Those are two different things. Stop interrupting me.
Is a straw man.
You can't. That's what I'm saying. Like, I don't think you can physically do it.
Yeah, the pragmatic fallacy is a straw man. I'm
And
not
you
saying
you
that
just continue to talk like you're interrupting me. Stop interrupting
we're
me.
having a conversation, I thought.
Dude, your conversations are me letting you get your point fully out and you always immediately interrupting me.
When people
Just
talk
stop.
there's a back and forth. Like right
We
now,
can
this
get a
is
mod in this if you guys need it.
I
Yeah,
don't think
Zanick,
you need to.
can you
If you don't,
prove that
if I
someone doesn't
can't
have to
talk with you,
babysit you? Can you just like let me say my point?
I would do it,
Thanks.
but I'm still working.
don't worry
But yeah,
about it. I'll let
Zanick,
you
please.
talk. I thought we could go back and forth, but I'll just be quiet and let you speak until you're done. Go ahead.
Okay, man. A pragmatic fallacy is when someone claims that something is true simply because it's useful or has like a practical use case. That's stupid. That's fallacious. That doesn't mean that something's true. In your own paradigm, we can use the idea of using Newtonian equations for satellites or planetary orbits, although you guys claim that Newtonian gravity isn't what actually happens. The fact that you can use something and it can be practically useful doesn't prove that it's true. That's a pragmatic fallacy. That wouldn't even fully apply here, though, because your fundamental claim was incorrect, where you originally claimed we know that E equals mc squared is correct because in nuclear fission, we use that equation and it matches the outcome every single time exactly. That's a lie. It never matches. It never matches. So what now you've done is shift over, and what's what you're going to do is you make the original claim that we use E equals mc squared and it always matches nuclear fission. Just a lie, just baseless lie. I point out that's not true. Actually, it doesn't match. It never matches. They have to make corrections to it. And now you're going to say, oh, well, yeah, once we make corrections to it, then it works. And so that does show that it's true. That's ridiculous. Your theory predicts a certain thing. And then when the theory is applied to the thing, it doesn't actually work. It doesn't match the energy output. They have to account for all kinds of additional corrections, proving that it isn't accurate. So the number one evidence you invoked as verification of E equals mc squared, which is a proponent of special relativity, you threw GR in a second ago. It's not even about general relativity at all,
Why
is
do you have to ramble on for
incorrect.
so long?
That was maybe 1 minute, and you just got.
No,
And
it
I
was
just
more than a
laid it
minute.
all
It's
out.
2
You got
minutes.
dunked on.
I mean, seriously, you would say the same thing over and over again. You misrepresented, straw man me to death, and I can't even respond because you can't have an adult conversation. If I was an adult conversation, I would be able to stop you like midstream and say, "No, I
I
didn't
think
say
we
that."
should just stop talking to Zanick then.
No, well, let me respond because I think Witsit, are you done with all respect? Can
Yeah,
I
I just destroyed
respond?
your point.
Yo,
Well, you
mute
didn't destroy a
Rob.
point because you said I had
Oh,
a
yeah, I
fallacy,
got him.
a pragmatic fallacy, and it's not because I didn't say the fact that we use it and it works, therefore it be true. I did not say that at all. I'll say it right now. I did not say that. So don't say that I said it again. What I
But
said
you
is
did
we do
say it.
use it every day. That's not the justification. We understand it, and there is a equation E equals mc squared that is utilized in predicting how much energy we'll get because there is leftover mass, minuscule amount. It doesn't match exactly, but they're aware of this leftover mass. It's measurable. They can try to get more and more efficient, but they know it's missing. The point is the equation does work. They don't just say, "Oh, well, it should be exactly the same." And why is it? We don't know. Let's just throw a factor in there. No, they know it's not exactly the same, and it's measurably not the same. But it doesn't dispute the fact that the equation is the fundamental reason why they can't actually split the atom and release the energy from mass, and the mass is gone except for just a tiny bit of it. That's the argument I put forth. Don't straw man me and say I'm saying something different than I am. I'm not saying that because it works that it is true. I'm saying it works. They know the equation. They know there's a leftover, and it all with the leftover with the E equals mc squared. It all works out, and there's nothing left over at the end after they apply those corrections. And if you're saying the corrections are the reason why it's completely invalid, that's a little bit disingenuous.
Okay,
I was
thank you.
Mike, and you didn't have to kick me out to another fucking room for that, guys. That was fucking bullshit. I got a fucking headache to get back in here.
Okay, so
That was
you
misquoted.
you just revised history, right? Even though everyone heard it, and you did literally. You said the fact that we use nuclear fission and nuclear energy all over the world every day shows that it's true, and you are incorrect. That's a pragmatic fallacy. Secondly, it isn't even a true claim anyway, because it doesn't actually match. You first said it matches exactly every time. That's how we know it's true. You've now changed, you literally said that. You've now changed it from exactly every time to acknowledge never any time. And now you've shifted over to, but it's minuscule. The difference is minuscule. Just another baseless claim. That isn't true either. It isn't minuscule. The discrepancies vary. It's completely off. It depends on exactly what type of fission and within your paradigm, what type of different particles are involved. They've had to add all kinds of quantum corrections and different particles and different types of decay rates and all of this. And I'm only vaguely familiar with this. That nuclear fission doesn't work with relativity specifically. And that's when they get into the whole, the quantum world is a magic realm that's different. Somehow relativity is still true, even though it doesn't work at all on the quantum scale. But we're just going to claim that they are true. So if you're saying, hey, you're proposing this as evidence that E equals MC squared, and whenever we actually use E equals MC squared, it doesn't match what happens in reality. For you to then say, we're going to add all kinds of stuff to it that relativity doesn't account for, and then we can fix it, right? And we can make the math match the energy output. Therefore, it's evidence of relativity is insane. No, it's literally the opposite. It's direct evidence against relativity because it doesn't match. You didn't even know that.
Yeah,
you didn't even know that.
Yes, no, I didn't. No, it is not, because
You didn't even know
do
that.
understand that their conversion of matter to energy isn't 100% efficient, and they know there's a leftover. So yeah, it does. It has a varying rate depending on the reactor, depending on the process, depending on the uranium or the reactive material. Yes, and you said it again. If I told you not to say it again, you did it anyway. To say my proof is that it works. It works because they understand it, and it is the most important element of them being able to develop these nuclear reactors, understanding E equals mc squared, to be able to get energy out of mass. They didn't know that before. It was a theory, and when Einstein helped them understand why it would actually work, and lo and behold, when they split the atom, that all the matter evaporated except for a small leftover. And so I never said because they use it, that's the reason why we know it to be true. They do use it, and it is true, but they do use it with the acknowledgement that there is an efficiency factor, if I can use that word loosely, in the process where it's not perfect. Doesn't mean that the whole process is unknown. It's like knowing something about something else and not knowing it precisely, absolutely well. They can know it generally. So for the most part, 99.9% of this E equals mc squared is correct for how they're using it and why they're successful using it all over the world. But there is a leftover. It doesn't mean the whole theory is thrown out. It just means that theory has leftovers. Now, how much they understand it is known more and more every year. They learn more and more about the process. That's why they're able to do fusion now. Fusion is the next step, to be able to not have this leftover, to make it 100% efficient.
Okay, so we can wrap this up. I'll just say the conclusion again. You made multiple false claims, originally claiming that verification of E equals mc squared is nuclear energy, nuclear fission to be specific, and that when we plug in E equals mc squared, we're able to predict the energy output exactly. That isn't true. It doesn't match the prediction. It requires corrections almost every single time. And the amount that needs to be
corrections. The corrections give you the right prediction. And that's what's wrong with that.
The corrections have nothing to do with relativity. That's the whole point. This is just like saying, hey, relativity is true, and then pointing to the coma cluster where relativity only predicted, it only had 1% of the mass predicted, right, according to gravity, and then saying the coma cluster proves relativity is true because once we plug dark matter in, it works. That's stupid because relativity doesn't predict dark matter. It's a fundamental flaw in the prediction, and then the most absurd, asinine thing that you guys do is you take the proof it's wrong, absorb it, and claim it's proof it's true. It's absolutely ridiculous. Not to mention, of course, the fact that there's some type of relationship between energy and matter isn't exclusive to relativity anyway, right? So who cares? It's clearly more of an etheric phenomena. Hence them having to throw in all kinds of random reified quantum effects to make the corrections, right? Because from an etheric framework, we understand that everything is simply an ether modality. There's a primary substance. There's different modalities of that, and then relative to the excitation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, we're going to get different modalities. Energy is matter. This is one of the few things relativity is correct about. Energy and matter are both made of the same thing. It's just different modalities of the same thing. I actually don't even dispute the fundamental claim, right? I just am pointing out that E equals mc squared isn't sufficient. Relativistic application to nuclear fission isn't sufficient. It doesn't work. They have to make multiple corrections. Your point's been refuted. You've revised what your claim was 3 or 4 times. Now try to pretend that you're still correct, but you were not. And in general, even if you were correct, it would have been a pragmatic fallacy anyway. There could be all kinds of different things that don't include relativity that could also account for there being some type of relationship between energy and mass. So the fact that there, even if there was an accuracy in the prediction, it wouldn't prove the primary causal claim that you baked in. So this conversation's over because you're just going to repeat the same thing and say, oh, that this still changes in that much, but we can make changes and it's still useful. And then we're going to, one day it's going to be perfect. Trust me, bro. Okay, cool, man. So yeah, I'm glad that we got to show the room that you didn't even know what you were talking about, or B, that you were being deceptive and claiming that it works every single time exactly when you knew it didn't. So that's your only 2 options. Which one was it? Was it that you didn't actually know that it didn't match? Or is it that you were being misleading and deceptive, trying to trick the room into thinking that it matched, even though it didn't?
You're getting cooked today, Zanick. You good, bro?
I think he just doesn't.
Yo, Zanick, which one is it? Were you just wrong and didn't actually know that it didn't match, or were you intentionally being deceptive, trying to trick the room into thinking that it matched because you knew that most people in this room probably weren't familiar with it? One is way
he's
worse
just
than the other.
struggling to concede.
Yeah. What's new?
Oh, Zanick, are you okay today? Are you good? Are you going to answer Witsit, or can we move on? What's going on?
Honestly, I just think he didn't know. I think he just he's heard people say that we use E equals mc squared for nuclear fission. And I haven't studied that in depth. I just know that there's discrepancies, like with everything. Every time that you try to, use relativity in the real world, like anything to do with precise manipulation of energy, for example, relativity is trash and doesn't work, and they have to make all kinds of quantum corrections. So what do you know? The ether model reigns supreme again and is superior in viability to a relativistic framework. Who would have guessed?
Yeah, I got another one with the energy has mass thing. They say that the only thing that'll bend space-time is something with mass, and they say energy bends space-time. So, I mean, there's so many ways inside of relativity that says that energy has mass. It's not even funny.
Yeah, ironically though, I think that I just said this, but my idea is that they are the same thing. They're different modalities
Yeah.
of the same thing.
Yeah, I'm just working within their paradigm and shit, though. I was just steel manning their whole shit.
Yeah. You know what Tesla said? Tesla said that claim this to be true or anything, but Tesla said that when the ether is thrown into infinitesimal prodigious whirls of velocity, so really small, really fast, like vortices, basically, it manifests as matter. And that if that motion resides, it would revert back into the ether. So according to Tesla, if you whatever piece of matter you have, if you could cause all the motion within it to reside, it would disappear. It would revert back into the original state of ether. And in
You're
theory,
talking
you could
about
make matter appear.
hitting absolute zero?
Well, it would be there's the primary inertial state. So, I mean, quote unquote, zero in terms of matter, amount of measurable, tangible matter.
No, but you said
That's what
stop
Tesla
all
said.
the move. You said stop all the movement, or
Yeah, like if the motion resides. Yep. So then you have the idea that the primary substance, like the ether itself, like the actual just ether, is stillness.
yeah, it's absolute zero. Yeah.
Yeah, true rest, which doesn't exist anywhere in the physical world.
They can't get it. They've been trying so hard to get to absolute zero. They can't do it, though.
Yeah, because whatever it is would disappear.
That's dope.
Yeah. Dude, I swear, dude, it's such a pet peeve of mine where people run around pointing to all this stuff, claiming it proves relativity. And the truth is, like, relativity doesn't work with any of it. It doesn't work with GPS, didn't work with satellite equations and signal propagation. It doesn't work with nuclear fission. It doesn't work with atomic clocks. It doesn't work over and over. It doesn't work. And then somehow they've pulled off this like masterful feat of getting all of these people to repeat the claim as it proves relativity's truth. They point to the parts where relativity don't work and are convinced just to repeat that that's what proves it's correct. You know what I mean? Like, how insane is that? So instead of ever saying, "Oh, look, like they do the same thing with dark matter," right? They look at the sky and they're like, "Oh, we know relativity is true. That's how we know there has to be dark matter there." So, you know, as if like when we see somewhere that the equation doesn't work, well, we know dark matter must be there because we know that relativity is true, right? It's just like egregious begging the question, affirm the consequent, reification fallacies, you know, vicious circles. It's ridiculous. It's a religion, basically. How dare you question, go and bow down at the altar of paradoxical pseudoscience known as relativity? It's unquestionable. Pay your tithing. Pay your relativistic tithing.
What do you think the stars and I think that they're
What's up?
it's like almost
You're really low, bro. Unintelligibly low. Yo, Jeremy, did you hear? You hear? I started bringing the question back up, but none of them can answer. If a geocentric universe has the Earth being stationary, therefore doesn't have to invoke accelerative expansion of the universe to explain redshift and why all celestial observations make the Earth appear to be in the center. In simple terms, all observations make it look like the Earth's in the center because it's in the center, as opposed to it just being an illusion. So if a geocentric universe doesn't require accelerative expansion to explain redshift, thus invoking dark energy because it requires some type of energy to cause that accelerative expansion. And our geocentric framework doesn't need relativity to explain away Michelson-Morley. Therefore, doesn't have the discrepancy that relativity has when making celestial observations that don't have enough visible mass. So therefore, it doesn't need dark matter. And dark matter and dark energy in their paradigm are combined to represent over 96% of the total composition of the universe. Then wouldn't that mean, in a sense of like simply like what the universe is compositionally, that a geocentric model is at least 96% more viable and accurate than a heliocentric one? Should probably a more
but that's
concise way
still
to say
big
it.
time.
they're still using all of their assumptions that out there has the same applied physics, right? They're still applying the same physics that they know to something that's not tangible, like up there in the heavens. When I was unintelligible just before, I fixed my mic now. So I was asking, what do you think the heavenly bodies are? In my opinion, I think they're all light beings. Like some people might say they're angels.
I mean, that's what I think. Yeah, I think they're sentient.
Yo, regarding
What
redshift,
do you got?
Witsit, real quick, regarding redshift, they say it's pretty much uniform across all directions, right? Like the CMD.
No, they got wild redshift anomalies, bro. Go ahead, dog.
Well, I understand that there's some anomalies with the anisotropic and homogeny and all that. I understand that. But for the most part, it seems to be uniform in their model. Pretty consistent across all directions. The redshift.
Other than the anomalies, I mean, yeah.
Now,
I guess so.
well, hold on. Well, I'm just saying, like, they have it their causal reason, right? And it's expansion. It's causing us to perceive this frequency of it. Now, what if it was the fact that there is a medium of substance that the light is traveling through, causing it, or the electromagnetism is traveling through, causing it to attenuate like it would in the atmosphere, leaving you with the red spectrum? Why can't it be that?
Yeah, in theory, it could
Because
be.
they
That's
haven't.
called a.
Sorry, go ahead. Let's see who's asking you.
That's called the tired light hypothesis, which was proposed back in the day. The idea that the light is attenuating as it travels through the medium of quote unquote space. So the further away, the more it attenuates, which is why redshifts would be proportionate to distance still. That is an idea. I mean, they've obviously offered rebuttals to it though, and claimed refutations of it.
Yeah, but wouldn't all this would be ad hoc explanations of it because they can't actually test these things.
No one can test them. Yep.
I heard you going over that with Parks a little bit. I was struggling to go to sleep because I had to go to bed, but yeah, they don't know if what's causing that redshift there. It could be a magnetic thing or something else. Like, they don't know.
I caught a bit of that convo too last night. It was pretty good. I wanted to come in and add some stuff, but I was too tired. Next time Parks comes on, Witsit, we need to have a convo because I got something good for you guys pertaining to the electromagnetic understanding of how the cosmos works.
Or, how crazy is it that he had never even heard of the people like getting in a lab and then using plasma with magnetic fields and like perfectly replicating the galaxies that we see in the sky.
Yeah.
Yeah, aren't they pretty certain that you can cause redshift with magnetism and shit?
Yeah, you can. You can also get redshift just with light's interaction within plasma as well.
Yeah. So,
Bro, that's another thing. I brought it up the other day. The part of the magnetosphere, they underestimated a layer. There's a plasma layer in the magnetosphere, dude, that extends out way further than they predicted. You know how usually their predictions are off? This is another one of those predictions that were off, where it's like 3 or 4 times larger than they previously estimated. We're talking about, they thought it was like 10,000 miles thick. It might be like up to 30,000 miles thick and even denser than they previously realized of plasma that surrounds the Earth in their model. That would definitely affect
makes no
electromagnetic
sense.
propagation.
It makes no sense, bro, because shouldn't they have gone through that when they got to the moon? Shouldn't they have passed through that plasma screen and taken note of it back in the 60s?
Well, that's the thing. Did they have the awareness of the magnetosphere and all its entailments, including the Van Halen belt or whatever the hell it's called? Didn't they not know about it originally? And then they had an explanation.
They claim.
They do have a justification for getting through it. And they said that there was like a window of opportunity, kind of like leapfrog.
They just got lucky.
Or Frogger.
That's pretty
We
convenient.
crossed the road.
Just so everyone knows, clarify real fast. So electromagnetic retardation, you would have like a dispersion within magnetized plasma, right? And this would reduce, in their paradigm, the frequency of the photon. Okay, photons aren't real; they're just where the oscillating electric field and magnetic fields intersect, right, as they overlap back and forth. But like, whatever, like you would have, because of electromagnetic retardation due to the magnetized plasma, this would reduce the frequency of the light, right, as it interacts with this magnetized plasma, and that effect would be would accumulate with distance. So that would give you like an apparent redshift that increases with distance, right? And so then you would have, and basically this is like a plasma redshift, or it's similar to tired light mechanism. So that would be
Yeah,
within the medium.
it's attenuation. That's all it is. It's attenuation, and it's all we know this on Earth. We don't have to think about space expanding when we have things that affect the propagation of electromagnetism, including plasma, which the Earth is surrounded with a layer that's like 30,000 miles thick, bro, and denser than they previously estimated. That's gonna affect our observation. Now, remember how yesterday you were talking about that the whole idea with the vacuum of space was all presupposed, and they needed it, right, for their model to work. Well, what's to say? Who's to say what's between us and those lights, bro? And what type of mediums, plasma, electromagnetism, fluids? Who knows, dude?
Yeah, why is there clouds in space?
Dude, there's all kinds of stuff. I mean, they
They're called
literally claim. Good.
They're called noctilucent clouds.
But they literally claim that there's intergalactic plasma. They claim that there's interstellar mediums, intergalactic mediums, so ISM, IGM. And they claim that it's like this really thin gas that's ionized. Of course, ionized gas is what plasma is. And they claim that there are all kinds of like electrical currents and magnetic fields. So like electrical and magnetic properties within this interstellar medium, this intergalactic medium, and that there is like a intergalactic plasma that has like a certain density, right? And they're making the claims about how it's super, super tenuous and like really dispersed and all that. That's just whatever. That's what they're claiming. But it's funny because over time they've had to now come out and admit that those things exist. You know what I mean? And it's like, okay, yeah, cool. That's what we said. That's what we said, bro. Is that there's like some fluid-like medium seems to operate like a plasma. There could be a superfluid medium that also has plasma within it. And then the superfluid, if anyone knows anything about that, like it has no resistance, no viscosity, right? So whatever's moving around in space, if it was just like all of space with a superfluid, you would still have everything moving like with no problem. This was acknowledged even by Newton way back in the day, funny enough, right? He didn't know about superfluid, but he basically proposed a superfluid, saying like, some type of fluid medium with no viscosity. And this is in the etheric framework he proposed after Newtonian gravity, a paper that was just kind of buried and swept under the rug. But anyway, so you could have like a superfluid, and then you could have like plasma, and then say you have like layers to some type of containment, and kind of like the whole universe is within this containment. Envision like a giant torus field, which if you're like living on the dielectric plane or the plane of inertia in the middle, you just see the top half of it. So that's basically a hemisphere, a dome, and you have layers within that. Right, and then you would just have different densities of plasma within that, and then the primary substrate of all of it could act like a superfluid, where there would be no viscosity, and now you are able to explain basically everything. You don't need gravity, you don't need any other nonsense, and of course, if the Earth's not moving, it would imply that the universe is much smaller, more dense. Everything's much more local. It's finite, and it would be a lot younger in all of this, right? And so then you'd be able to explain literally everything that we see, right? And we can't prove it. We can't prove how big that galaxy is or how far away it is or whatever, but we can absolutely show that this would work. And what do you know when you get into a lab and you take some plasma and you introduce it to magnetic fields and like waving phenomena, all of a sudden you're able to get spiral galaxies and all of the little arms that are seen on the galaxies. You're able to replicate all of the motion. And like I was explaining to him, even if you have a weak magnetic field inside of plasma, you can get crazy speeds. It's called like Alvin waves and Alvin speeds. And it's well known, again, proven in a lab, that like the plasma can start moving super fast, even if the magnetic field is super weak, because of the interaction with the plasma. So now envision like giant magnetic fields. Doesn't even matter if they're super, super strong, right? And then it would just be distributed throughout all of this plasma. And then you have an cumulative effect.
Fluid dynamics, Mach's principle, this substrate, primary substrate, real dynamic forces, not pseudo and fictitious.
Yeah, now everything becomes real. All of the stuff we're talking about is literally real. You can show it all in a lab. It's a very real thing. And we know everything is electric. And we know that, like electricity within electrical currents within plasma, you're going to get magnetic fields. And so it's like, I mean, bro, let's just kind of use some pattern recognition. And I'll drop some pictures, guys. If you look at the pictures of the people that replicate galaxies and different celestial phenomena in a lab using plasma and magnetic fields, it's exactly what we see in the sky. It's exactly what we see. Can they do that with some magical space-time? Did someone show me them using some magical space-time and replicating galaxies in a lab? Of course not. Of course not, because
everything could be closer, right? More local, like you said. And you know how they do experiments with the propagation of light, and they'll get like relays from the moon. Like let's give them the benefit of the doubt, which I think they are getting some type of response. Let's say they're bouncing signals off the moon, or they're measuring the time it takes for light right after nautical twilight or astronomical twilight or whatever, or dawn. Right? How long does it take for that sunlight to reach the Earth? They say 8 minutes, right? Well, what if the sun was a lot closer and the propagation of light was being manipulated by the surrounding medium, causing it to delay, to slow down? And I know Einstein's relativity, light should be constant regardless of medium, regardless of motion and all that. But if we exclude Einstein for a second, right? If there's plasma between us and the sun, we don't know the density of it. We know that plasma retards electromagnetic propagation. For all we know, that sun could be a lot closer, and they're presupposing a vacuum between us and the sun. So when they do this relay, they're not factoring the plasma. They're not factoring what this guy's talking about. Go ahead.
Here's even within their own paradigm. Laboratory experiments replicate volatile plasma at the center of galaxy clusters. Obviously, take all of it with a grain of salt because it's run through all of their presuppositions. You know what's even funnier is like, so yeah, here we're clearly offering a significantly more viable framework because we don't need dark energy, we don't need dark matter. We're able to replicate all of the phenomena that we see, et cetera, et cetera. And we'll openly state, but this is speculation station, bro. We can't actually independently verify these things, right? We're just it's like we're dipping off into, let's try to figure it out. We can just have it's kind of like an interesting, thought-provoking, speculative conversation. We are not claiming any of this to be definitively true or exactly how it would work,
right?
Because we can't prove it. But it's like we can prove all these things in a lab, like they're real phenomena, and it makes no sense that what's causing the stuff to happen in the sky wouldn't be electric and magnetic because everything is. But then they're on the other side where they're making up something that can't be replicated, doesn't work at all. The math doesn't even work. All of our math could work. You could just move the field strengths around all you want to because it doesn't matter how much matter is there. It can just be more magnetized. And then they're claiming that theirs is definitively true. Like how goofy. It's like, nah. And then if you start questioning it and then they want some type of replacement and it's like falsifications independent of replacement. But here I do have some speculations that they all of a sudden prove it. Can you prove it? No, where's the proof of that? Okay, well tell me exactly how. Where it's like, what the hell, bro? Why don't you apply that same standard to your side, right? I'll never get it. I'll never get it.
Yo, but besides that, let's take the speculation one step further, right? Let's just say the etheric framework is completely granted, right? Do you think it would be actually possible for, like deep space, or let's just say we can send stuff into this superfluid medium, right? Like, what if they can actually send probes or whatever, like pretty deep into it? Not the distances that they claim, but you know what I mean? Like, you think it's possible? Because I have a theory that they're actually going up there, right? There's so many different papers, like so many different papers that come out all the time about testing stuff in microgravity, right? So they get to a certain point in the sky and they do all different types of stuff, like in low Earth orbit. And someone speculated that they were actually mining the frozen helium up there as well. Because, like, think about it, right? Like, helium rises. Where does it go?
No, yeah, the sky ice, but I didn't know they were mining the sky, dude.
Yeah,
I
dude.
thought they
Like
were
that.
mining the ice wall.
But like, that's just something that I heard. But like, think about, like, if we are in a contained system, which I believe we are, where does the helium rise up to, right? What if it does? What if there is like a huge layer up there that's just
No, yeah.
completely frozen? And they just go up there, mine it to bring it back down and use it again. I don't know.
Well, yeah, you got the noble gases, bro, and they got interesting properties under either extreme pressure, right, or extreme temperatures. Like these elements, bro, they act erratic. We can't predict what type of properties they might be capable of under extreme pressures and temperatures, and or combined. And this is what they're doing today. They're experimenting with extreme, like liquid nitrogen, absolute zero temperatures, bro, and under extreme pressures, bro, trying to see what they can do. And it's incredible what they're finding out. With Ken Wheeler was talking about it. What's that stuff called?
I
Dicelo.
think
What you say about my dad?
Dang, dude. All right, go ahead. Go
I
ahead,
think
SE.
Rakia has something to say about the helium rising up in the cold. I'm sure he's itching to say it. Rakia, you there?
Keeping up, or is it just me?
I'll say it for him. Super fluid. When helium attains the temperature that they say is up there, turns into super fluid.
I believe it, dude. Helium
The
at
thing is, that's the
absolute zero.
temperature that's the temperature they're saying. Well, who actually ever measured that? Because they all, like the whole thing with the gradient pressure, they haven't measured that either. There's all a extrapolation.
I was thinking about oh, sorry, Elbow. I thought you were done.
An extrapolation, inferred by an extrapolation.
Yeah, I was thinking about the.
Yeah,
Oh,
sorry.
sorry. I thought you were done, dude.
So
It was a long
does
pause.
anybody know what's the actual temperature up there? Like, do y'all know who actually measures the temperatures? So they say that it's in those areas.
Nobody's actually measured anything up there. We're going by what the paradigm says. It's something, I forgot what Kelvin ratio it is, but last time I checked, because I was checking out the super helium, the temperature coincides with what temperature helium turns into superfluid. I think it's near Kelvin or just somewhere around there. I don't remember exactly.
It's probably
But
close to absolute zero.
that's the one to say something.
Similar topic, slightly different. Slightly different element. I was talking about or thinking about O3 the other day, ozone, and how they claim that there's a layer of ozone up there. I don't know if you guys are old enough to remember. They were talking about holes in the ozone layer from aerosol canisters depleting it and how it's affecting our atmosphere, yada yada. But I was just thinking
Radiation coming in.
yeah. I was just thinking how O3 is a rapid accelerant, right? Which seeks to bond with other, free agents or free atoms. I'll put it like that. So it's like how could you have a consistent layer of O3 if it's always seeking to bond with something? Like it doesn't make any sense. I don't know if Jace or somebody is in here that could explain it, but that's just never made sense to me.
Yeah, you ever had an ozone generator or used one to like get cigarette smell and everything?
I got 3 of them. And I got a can of Ozium right here, dude. I huff all day.
You know what they do inside to create that ozone?
Yeah, it's like a light bulb that ionizes or something. It's like a
It's a
filament in there or something.
ultraviolet bulb. It's like pure
Yeah.
ultraviolet light. So the ultraviolet light from
Okay.
the sun is hitting the atmosphere all day, regenerating the air. So it's just a matter of, that's why it repaired, quote unquote, right? Because we stopped degrading it faster than it was generated.
Right. Yeah. Okay. I get that part, but I guess my question is how is it not continuously depleting itself, being that it's always looking to bond with another free atom?
It is, because otherwise it would not just be a layer, the whole atmosphere would ionize or ozonate or whatever.
So
And
it's
when it's
just
up
like
there,
a
it's like,
continuous give and take.
yeah, that's a balance. That's why it's like a finding that static equilibrium point.
Well, don't they claim that the sun is getting closer every year? And if that's the case, wouldn't that kind of throw off those ratios from
If you
being
do the
consistent?
inverse, you do the inverse square law on how much closer they say it's getting, it's won't even show up on a detector as far as how much more ultraviolet light's hitting the ozone. I bet you could.
Well, sure.
Here's how to verify it. The 11-year solar cycle. Look at ozone layers like historically, and then compare them with the 11-year solar cycle. And there should be more ozone up there during solar maximum, which we are kind of still in currently, but that'd be one way to poke at it a little bit in the data.
Yeah. I wouldn't think it would be like noticeable annually. It would probably be something to do like you said, every 10, 11 years.
11-year.
Yeah. Anyhow, back to
I think
helium.
11-year. I think is peak to peak. So
Oh,
it'd
okay.
be the halfway between the. I think I could be wrong on that.
Well, that kind of makes sense. But there should be a noticeable difference every decade or so. I would think, right, intuitively, but I don't know.
You could look at like the sine wave of solar radiation over the 11-year cycle versus the. You might have to synthesize this data yourself, but average ozone concentrations at altitude, whatever, and plot it.
He don't like that word.
What
Synthesis.
was it?
Sine wave.
Oh, sine wave.
Oh yeah, about to trigger me, bro.
Undo.
But
Command Z.
Wave's not a thing of itself.
Oh shit! Break them offline.
Nah,
I can draw a wave on a piece of paper. That counts.
Yeah, that's fine. Back to the helium thing. What do you know about helium? What do you know about helium-3, Bull Knight?
My first thought when SC just said that the temperature matches, I bet there's a pressure requirement for helium-3 to be a superfluid. If that's what you're talking about. Or are you talking about moon fuel?
Well, that's kind of, yeah. I mean, however way you want, tomato, but yeah, essentially the Chinese moon fuel that's going to essentially make encryption obsolete.
Oh, did you watch the DEF CON talk a couple weeks ago on quantum computing and how it's a lot closer?
Yeah, I saw something about it. Yeah.
This guy's saying 2030, we got to have our shit in line.
I mean, I don't necessarily believe the story, but I entertain it just because I'm into crypto, and I think it's all fairly relative. If encryption's obsolete, then crypto essentially is up for grabs.
No, we already have quantum resistant encryption algorithms. Just a matter of switching over to them, and there's basically no downside. It's not like they're more vulnerable to non-quantum algorithms. The comparison he made is Y2K ish, but it's not just the computer not working; it's the blockchain being unwound. Potentially, hypothetical.
So what's this quantum? What'd you call it? Encryption.
Quantum resistant encryption algorithms.
Yeah.
I forget the name of them. There are things that quantum computing can hypothetically vastly accelerate, but then there's things that it can't. And you'll have to
is this
shift
including?
the existing blockchains over to that. That would be a pain in the ass. So.
Well, that's a whole nother chore, right?
Yeah.
But are you so you're accounting for this helium-3 quantum supercomputing? I don't know how else to phrase that, but I mean this is what you're accounting for, like when you're talking about the new age quantum computers.
Yeah, I mean, and that's just based on the talk I just watched by the guy who's been studying it for 2 decades. He thinks that's why he's saying 2030, and everyone else is like, well, 2050 ish maybe, but he thinks it'll accelerate faster than due to a combination. The predictions were based on were strictly hardware and qubits, and not necessarily algorithm efficiency improvements, which have actually done a lot in the past 5 years. The quantum algorithms to do the work have found massive optimizations that took it down from like 20 million qubits required to 3,000.
The only quote unquote quantum computers that work are the ones that are not based on quantum state superposition, which then really aren't actually quote unquote truly quantum computers. But
D-Wave?
I don't remember the different classifications, to be honest.
Well, I think the D-Wave's old compared to this H3 quantum computer, right? Bull Knight?
None of the ones that claim to work on quantum state superposition will ever work. The other ones that somewhat do work aren't based on that method, and therefore aren't really quote unquote quantum. They're just using the namesake because they do like some kind of fancy analog processing.
Yeah, but those could still give a massive advantage to decrypting certain.
Yeah, I mean, if they figure out, computers started out analog, and they went digital when they realized they had the ability to discretize functions and get like a better granularity by setting boundary conditions for all this noise. But if they're able to put like a near zero noise environment in there and then go back to analog, then yeah, they could get way better usefulness out of it, because analog has always been better. It's just it was harder to actually produce real modernized analog computers. But like I said, an analog computer isn't a quantum computer. I feel like the word quantum be getting thrown around all the time just for stuff that's really small.
Yeah, size has nothing to do with it in this case, and whether it's marketing wank or a suggestion of a way it might not be operating. But then again, quantum had a meaning before quantum. In physics, it's like a measure of. So people aren't always good at naming shit.
I mean, do you think that's true though? The helium-3 on the moon, Bull Knight, going back to helium.
That it's there or not?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like it's even a possibility of it existing, even.
I mean, to whatever degree the spectrography. Is it Friday yet? The spectrographic.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, that's just a remote sensing, right? And then they even say that most of it is on the far side of the moon, right? So that's based on lunar probes from multiple missions in the past or whatever. So who knows?
Dude, I still trust them freaking Polish and Russian cosmonauts that were like, yeah, we ain't never been. They lying to you, bro.
That's 2 of them that said that. One was Polish, and I forget what the other one was. Yeah.
That's what, yeah, Polish and Russian.
Footage, if we always go over NASA footage, right? If
Let Jeremy robot again.
Footage,
yeah, you're all quantum out, bro.
Yeah. Turn that quantizing off.
It's all D-Wave.
Jeremy D-Waves all day.
Another misconception, real quick, while Jeremy gets his thing together. When people talk about the Van Allen radiation belt, right? They make it seem as if it's dangerous to go through, and it is, right? But and then they make it seem like once they get through, it's all cool, right? Everything's all right, which is completely the opposite. Because once you pass those belts, you're no longer protected by Earth's electromagnetic shield. It's worse after you pass the belt.
I gotta ask, like, at what point, if you don't believe that like step 1, 2, 3 are possible, when do you start believing that the problems they themselves have also identified are also real?
Well, this is playing in the paradigm. No one's saying or believing this. I'm not. I'm just talking about the paradigm, about the pseudo model that, you know, we have a vacuum up there and so on and so forth. I'm not saying I believe it. We're talking
No,
within
but
the
like,
paradigm.
I mean, that's like debating how old the Queen of Hearts was in Wonderland, right? Like, obviously,
Well,
the
not
Queen of
really,
Hearts in
bro.
Wonderland
If
had
you
an
wanna,
age.
well, if you want to equate your cosmology to that, yeah, I'll agree with you. It's like Wonderland. Yeah, in that sense, I'm with you.
I mean, I think I've always been on the side of like the shit that I try to keep it to the stuff I do more than it, and talk hypothetically is all right, but
Well, look, we know there can't be a gas ball in a vacuum, right? Number one. So we're talking like right off the get go, it's something that can happen.
So, SE, did you get your logical connection now together? Why this is impossible?
Oh, because it's never been shown. It's physically impossible unless you can show what you're saying. Go
Well,
right
that's
ahead,
always
please.
what you claim. It's physically impossible. That's always your claim. However, you never once have explained what is impossible on that, because the physics that we have here on Earth clearly show the possibility of that.
No, they don't,
But I
bro.
have
Look at the
explained it.
presentation
I
by
have.
Dr. Marie-Pierre Robitaille. Pierre-Marie Robitaille. He does a really good presentation on the sun and why the mainstream model is dumb and how they actually have, what's the variable? Man, I need to go. It's been a minute since I watched it. One of the variables has a negative value instead of a positive value for compressions, like the variable relating to like the force holding the gas in a compressed ball against gravity or whatever. In every other situation, like that pressure value has to be a positive quantity, but in the case of the sun, they treat it as negative, which doesn't make any actual physical sense.
Do you want to post that awesome doctor video?
Give me one sec.
Jeremy, I don't know if you're still there. You want to try again?
Yeah, I got it right here. I'll put it in the chat right now. Oop.
Professor Dave.
Yeah, better
I
yet.
cringe when I see that guy, man.
Yeah, better yet. Not only is he explaining why it's wrong, he's debunking Professor Dave at the same time, which is hilarious.
Like, is there a more unlikable personality in this in our environment? Like, can you name one guy more? I mean, wow.
Yeah, he thinks that that the sun is like a giant plasma, potentially a graphene plasma, but uncertain. But he thinks there's a decent chance it's like a carbon-based plasma because of its black body characteristics.
Well, their notion of the sun being a thermonuclear reaction is quite ridiculous, right? Now, we know that we can grow plants, of course, the sun, right? Now, we know we can reproduce that plant growth with electromagnetic radiation, right? AKA light bulbs that we produce here on Earth. But has anybody ever grown plants with a thermonuclear reaction. Like it's so
With the plasma,
preposterous.
yes, with the plasma. That's what typically old plant lamps were. They were plasma lamps.
Thermonuclear reaction, plasma lamps. What are you
No
talking about?
plasma, not thermonuclear reaction, no fusion reaction, but plasma lamps.
I'm not talking about plasma lamps. I'm talking about a thermonuclear reaction. You ever see a thermonuclear reactor? It brings out this blue light. You think we can grow plants with that?
That's a fission.
I
That's
think you're talking
fission,
about
not
Chernikov
fusion.
radiation, SE, as a specific name.
Well, that's one of them, but I'm just putting it out there, right? I know that's not fusion, it's fission, but still, can you show me a fusion reactor like growing plants? I mean, it's ridiculous just to say it. I feel like dirty saying it.
Yeah, but yet you don't know what the sun is.
And you do.
You don't know what the sun is, bro.
Oh, we
It's
do.
so funny.
It's very well
Look,
understood.
we can create, we can grow plants using electromagnetic energy. So right there, it goes to show me that could possibly be the sun could possibly be electromagnetic and not thermonuclear. But that's just
Yeah,
me.
I can grow plants by watering it from my tap water. Still, outside, plants are grown by rainwater.
Well, that's ingenious.
Both water, very good analogy in my opinion. Both water came from different sources. The one is just falling out of nothing from the heaven, and the other one is coming from my tap. So the plant lamp is light coming from your light bulb, and the other one is coming from the sky, from a fusion reaction.
Snooze. Instead of being so snide, you should probably just watch the video I shared that I told you explains, why the stuff is wrong that
I
I was
will,
telling
no
you was wrong.
problem, I will.
Yeah. Should check it out.
It's 40
Give us a
minutes, so I will
rundown,
take my
Piezo.
time.
Like
What does he
when
say?
you exude such a large air of false self-confidence, it's really like overbearing to continue interacting with you.
Says the person that has no clue how the world works.
Right. See, there you go again. Like, this is part of the overbearing nature of people like yourself who come in here and actually don't know as much as the people they debate against, yet pretend that they do. The false confidence and arrogance of fools makes people not like talking to them. The proverb speaks much of this. You should read the Bible.
Well, that was a little harsh, but true. That was true. Snooze, you do kind of come in a little snobby. So I don't know. Maybe you could work
I'm
on it a
sorry.
little bit. It's okay. No worries. We're all working on it, man. Nobody's perfect.
You're right. That's not intended. I actually don't really appreciate it how for example Robert talks. So I don't want to sound like him. Sorry for that.
You're good, man. Moving on.
Who is the fool
What
but
else
he
you
who
got?
says in his heart that there is no God?
Well, them fighting words.
Actually, they aren't my words, bro. I'm just quoting a book.
Them
Jeremy,
fighting
you back
book.
yet? Is Jeremy still quantum locked?
Jeremy, get off that quantum smoke, bro. Get in here.
Quantum Kush?
Snooze.
Yep.
You guys hear me now?
Do you love God?
Yeah, we hear you. We hear you. Hold on before we get into God. Jeremy, what were you saying earlier, bro?
You guys were talking about the Russian and the other countries' astronauts like talking shit, like they didn't go to space and all that. The thing is, if you go back and look at the footage, like we always go over NASA footage, you know what I'm saying? But if we were to go over the Russian footage, that's just blatant disrespect on people's intelligence. Like it's crazy. It's so fake.
Yeah. You got a video you could post or anything?
Well, don't get us started on the Indian one because they're the top apparently. The Indians.
Oh, I got
space
a
program.
I got a good meme with the Indian space, the space one.
Yo, Snooze, though, this isn't going to be a talk about God. It's an intro into a space talk. But I just got to know your answer. Like, do you love God? Yes or no?
No. What if I love or if I believe in?
Do you love him?
I don't believe in him, so.
Okay, right. Okay. Now, do you? But see, here's the thing. I was 99% sure this was going to be your answer, and the reason, right, is because when you have this worldview that doesn't have him in it, it makes it a lot easier to grasp onto naturalism. And whether or not you believe in God, that's not the relevant. Like, it's not that it's not relevant. That's not the point of this conversation I'm talking about right now. Whether or not you believe in him, you as a person believing in naturalism makes you more easily manipulated because naturalism is a belief system that's based purely on induction. And when you talk about logic, deduction is the only certain path to reach a logical conclusion, where induction is just based on past experience. Naturalism logically relies on presumptive logic based on past experience, such that, well, all I've ever seen is dead matter doing stuff in the world. So if I should have to interpret the world through dead matter, past reactions ad infinitum, to reach us coming from space dust and, gas balls and explosions. That's how that works. And so you take one presumption in a frame of, human lifetimes, and you expand it out into 16 billion years and apply it to the entire universe. It's actually an extremely, extremely exponentially assumptive framework to interpret the world in. And then
Actually,
once you're stuck in
I
that,
wouldn't.
go ahead.
Okay, go ahead. If you were not done.
It was just a little bit. I was like, well, then once you're stuck in that, you end up being pigeonholed later down the road, because when you get to the 20th century, like we did here in this past 100 years, and you develop technology that can finally see, quote unquote, further out into space, you end up having to incorporate new measurements into a model that was never true to begin with, and that's where you end up with stuff like dark matter and dark energy making up 97% of the universe, even though 0% of it's observable, measurable, testable, definable. And then you break the framework of observable science to try to adhere to strict naturalism, which is based upon observable science, to prop up naturalism. So it just becomes like a self-refuting position of absurdity in the end, based on a flawed presumptive framework in the beginning.
Okay, so I believe in a world or in stuff that is explained if it's kind of has a logical source of it. So, for example, if we can see stuff, we can reproduce stuff, we can experiment stuff. A lot of stuff that is claimed by science can be verified by yourself. I see what science can make, how satellites work, how our phone works, how we can now talk with each other. I see how technology progresses while I'm myself working in research, and so I believe that the scientific community can come up with logical things. I know that the research about the past, like research about the Earth, research about the Earth moon, for example, research about how our universe came into existence, has a lot of knowledge to be gained in the future, and a lot of stuff that we don't know, that we can create theories about how it could work, how the math would
Snooze, you're
work, how
saying
it
a lot of stuff.
logically concludes. Wait a second, he talked about 10 minutes or so straight. So let me also, please give me the few minutes. So I think that makes way more sense than, and I'm sorry, I've really no offense intended to anyone who is a believer, but I think it makes way more sense than believing in a book that has been written hundreds and hundreds of years after events that are claimed to be happen, a book that is refuting itself, a book that is full of, unhuman practices or encouragement of really bad stuff.
You're not
plus
addressing what he said at all.
refuting itself. Yes, I am,
No, you're not.
because believing in a book that even if it's written by 100 people, they just pulled this stuff out of their ass.
He didn't say anything
ripped
about a
it
book.
down, and now we're believing just in that. I
Just let
think
him
this
finish.
is actually opening the door for being like feeded with some bad knowledge.
He didn't say
Like
anything
the
about a book.
church has never brought up something good.
He didn't
I'll
say
go after
anything
Witsit.
about a
I did
book,
want to
bro.
squeeze in, so maybe I can go after Witsit and Jesus.
Yeah, well, hold on. I want Snooze to like kind of tailor and explain his response a little bit better, because the entire thing that I just explained to you was not about religion. It was about science and naturalism, and then you gave an entire response about a Bible.
Yeah, can you still man what Piezo said to you? Because it seems that you didn't follow it based on your response.
Not entirely.
Okay, so I mean,
Jamie,
you
was
could
that
still
talking
man.
about
bullshit?
logic.
Is this what everybody wants to listen to, or did we want to
Let
take
me
this
help you,
path?
Snooze. Let me help you, Snooze. He was talking about logic, and how you come to logic through, inductive reasoning versus deductive. One leads you down one path, right, and another takes you down another. Essentially, I mean, I don't want to butcher what he said because he was pretty elegant.
Yeah, but
in what he said,
but he opened all that with a statement. If you're not believing in God, then you have deductive reasoning, and that's just false.
Wait, time out. Okay, this is what I heard him make the point of, is that if you adhere to naturalism, it ends up being self-defeating in the end because you confine yourself within presumptive frameworks that the evidence later refutes. And then you find yourself having to make up things that actually can't be empirically validated at all. He used the example of dark matter and dark energy that can't be observed, tested, verified, or even defined. So ironically, you end up having to invoke and believe in things that can't be empirically verified, which end up violating and refuting and contradicting your very own position of naturalism in the first place.
But that's again just a straw manning of what we call, for example, dark matter. Because we know that we have not yet proven dark matter, seen dark matter. That's why we call it dark matter. We know a lot about how gravity works, how mass works, and so on. And if we then look over our edge of our solar system or further into other galaxies, we see that they are behaving differently, as if there would be something more matter in these galaxies. And because we have these unknown, not yet observed, not yet discovered thing that causes these galaxies to move a little bit differently than we have expected, we just filled that with an unknown variable. And instead of just calling that unknown variable X, we call it dark matter. So it's
You're still
same,
not
and I
engaging
said
with
that
the point,
some
bro.
days ago. Wait a second, I'm not yet done. I said that some days ago. It's the same, for example, with Planet X. We knew how gravity works. We knew how the celestial bodies should behave, and we know that there was an anomaly, and this anomaly would then be reverse engineered to claim a Planet X on a specific position. And
No,
what
you
happened
don't
is
know
we
those
looked
things.
there, we found
Dude,
Pluto.
stop monologuing, dude. The point
You
is
are
that you don't.
monologuing all the time, asshole, and you're interrupting all the time.
No, dude, the point is you're still not engaging with the idea. You say out of one side of your mouth that you don't actually know that it exists, and you turn around and claim that you do know for sure how
No.
gravity works. Yes, you did. And you can't both be true, right?
I
Like think
said
about
we
how
know a lot about gravity and how it works. I don't
no.
say we know everything about
You
gravity.
said, quote unquote, we know how gravity works. So this is the whole point, dude, is that if you don't have dark matter, then your idea of gravity is wrong. If dark matter doesn't exist, your entire belief system of gravity is wrong. So when you say
No, it's
that
not.
it literally is.
No, it's not.
If dark matter is not there, then gravity's wrong.
No. So
The reason he's right. No, hold on.
being just
Wait.
wrong or having not yet figured out every detail is a totally different thing. We know a lot about gravity. We can predict hell of a lot. The only thing is, and that we know of, that there is some unknown part of it. So we also do not know what actually happens precisely under sun's surface, but still we know what happens at the sun. We know what the sun is made out of. We know roughly how long the sun is there, and so on. That's all stuff that we know. Only because we have not yet 100% accurately predicted everything, you just claim it's wrong. And that's a black and white, stupid statement of someone who does not understand at all anything about it.
Here's your personal attack.
Electromagnetism and electrostatics and superfluids and whatever bullshit you always invoke.
Can you hop off the mic so someone else can reply, politely and respectfully? So, Snooze, the reason that he's correct about telling you that if dark matter is not there, then your model of gravity is entirely wrong is because to say otherwise would literally be to commit the fallacy of cherry picking, because you would be stating that on our tiny local solar system scale, which in your model is like not even 1/1000th of a percent of the universe, gravity successfully predicts observations. But as soon as we get out to the greater universe at large, the majority of the universe, 97% of the universe must be dark matter and energy in order for gravity to be true. So you can't say that in our 1/1000th of a percent it works, and in 97% it doesn't work, but our model's definitely right. That would be absurd.
And then he presented it as the opposite, which is that the vast majority of it works, and there's just a couple tiny things that we don't know yet, and you're just throwing it all out. No. The vast majority of it, gravity doesn't work. Only a tiny little portion, quote unquote, does. It actually doesn't then either. And it wasn't a prediction. It was reverse engineered post-diction, because we saw the kinematic relationship of the planets. Right, you have Kepler's laws based on radii ratio, so a periodicity of the planets, and then he plugged in a dynamic force in there. Newton didn't even define it. Then that was built upon later to get you relativity. So you just saw what we do observe consistently, plugged in like some magical dynamic force that isn't defined. And then when you assumed that it was true and looked at the rest of the universe, it completely fell apart. So if dark matter doesn't exist, your entire gravity model is wrong.
Yeah, and this is just bullshit. And there's the very big difference between science and the stuff that you do.
There's
Science
dogmatic
is, of
repetition,
course,
bro. Please
always,
engage.
You're
Please engage the
interrupting. You're
point.
interrupting. I'm engaging. So
you're just personally insulting me.
Come on.
Yeah, you're just
hold on,
literally
guys.
2 sentences in my response, and you're interrupting.
Hold on, Snooze. Let's take it back a notch. Like, we don't need to corner Snooze, right? And we can just have a conversation.
I have
dude.
no problem with multiple people talking with me, but
nobody's cornering him, bro. He's personally attacking people, and he's literally talking point and not
he is
addressing
talking about my model is 100% wrong, and he's claiming that we're reverse engineering, and I'm responding to that.
Can you address the points that we made instead of just talking?
If you would listen to what I have to say, you would listen that I'm responding to it. But if you're interrupting me on my second sentence, you couldn't
go
hear
ahead.
it.
Go ahead. You didn't do it last time. Do it this time, please.
So again, I just wanted to say the difference between science and just invoking or inventing stuff is that we are reverse engineering it. We are looking to the celestial bodies, we look how they work, and we figure out, based on this motion, it cannot be geocentric. And then we figured out how, for example, gravity works, that the apple falls as a metaphor about that. And Newton's calculations are not entirely wrong. They are still pretty good on a local scale. And as it goes further, we get more accurate and we get better in that. And this whole claim, gravity is entirely wrong, is absolute bullshit. We know a lot about gravity. We can absolutely precisely predict everything here on Earth regarding to gravity. We can predict everything in our solar system. We can send rockets and satellites from here doing multiple slingshots and still being on point on our target. That's how
Pragmatic
good
fallacy,
we know.
let me
fallacy.
I'm
Shut
still
up,
talking.
Witsit. Shut
That
up.
is how
let me
good we
respond
know
real quick.
gravity.
All the
And
Globers are dishonest.
the
Everyone knows he's
only
not
thing
actually
is
engaging
that
with our
we
point. You're
see
just
that the
biased.
galaxies are behaving differently, and that's why we call it dark matter, because we know how gravity works. So that must be some kind of matter somewhere that causes more gravity. And it's not 97% of the universe that we don't know. This is also just bullshit.
So hold on a
Okay, he
second.
didn't say
Can we try to have like a shorter back and forth instead of like these long-winded fucking speeches from both sides? Like, you know, because it's like the point never gets addressed. We got to listen to 10 minutes of monologuing. You know, like let's just keep it
Dyslo,
short.
it's specifically one side that's doing that, bro. It's specifically one side that's doing that.
I know, I get it, but
Okay,
as, you know,
so they point to the person instead of like generalizing one person's mistakes to everyone involved, because
well,
that's
the
actually
thing
not
is,
charitable.
the thing is, Jesus, is you went on for quite some time. I agreed with everything you said. I thought you said it great, but the problem is you went on for so long. Now he's got to go on for a long time, and before you know it, like we're just out in the weeds, and everybody wants, you know, to have a fucking
he just
30-minute speech.
directly contradicted himself. He said, because we know gravity's true, we know dark matter has to be there. When I said, if dark matter's not there, then gravity's wrong, and he said that wasn't true. He just directly refuted his own position. So answer it directly.
No, I said dark matter is something that causes gravity.
Yeah,
I
real
didn't
quick.
say this is actually material.
Yeah, I was gonna reply though real fast, Snooze. I was gonna reply real fast, and then you can have it back. Like, and let's take Dyslo's advice and make some short, succinct replies. Okay, starting now. Let's go. So you said that gravity works really good for all this stuff on Earth, dude. I literally already answered that. I said that Earth and our solar system is like not even 1/1000% of the known universe in your model, and yet the other 96 to 97% of the observable or known universe is said to have to be dark matter and dark energy, which we can't observe or test. So you're literally cherry picking 1/1000th of 1% and saying it works there, but it doesn't work in 96 to 97%. But your theory's so good. Please address that.
I was shorter. I felt like it could have been shorter though.
Bro, you're not helping, dude. Stop.
Oh, okay.
Snooze, address it directly.
This is his opinion. It's okay. It's fine.
How's that an opinion?
Well, he doesn't want to respond. He doesn't have to respond. I don't know. Maybe I can have a back and forth with him unless you guys are done cornering him.
Well, it is difficult to actually to be good faith and to respond and to be like, well, that's true. We don't necessarily know that, or it could be wrong. Like those things are difficult for some people to say.
Well,
No,
but why would moderation aid
absolutely,
in the
I
intellectual
absolutely agree,
dishonesty?
and that's why I don't
Makes
have to. I don't have to debate about that. I absolutely fine saying that the majority of the universe we cannot see because we cannot travel there. So everything about the universe we can only observe from here or from probes that we send from here. And this is literally a fraction, a micro fraction of our universe. I totally understand that. And I also already agreed many times ago that, for example, we know a lot not yet, but just because we have a lot of question marks still to figure out, to say that our model is entirely wrong only because we have not yet 100% discovered is just a stupid claim. Our model works very well in most of our cases that we can observe, and those where it doesn't work, we have to research.
Once again, not addressing the point. When you're claiming that gravity is true, and then you just point to the local scale, you are cherry picking.
Now we are not just pointing to local scale.
Oh, so you're not just pointing to Earth and the solar system?
No, way more than the solar system.
Okay, where else is, because when you get outside the solar system, you start needing dark matter.
Forget it, Witsit. Someone else can talk.
That's
That would
convenient.
be the good faith moment where you could
No,
say,
no,
"Yep, that's
it
true."
just doesn't make any sense to talk with you about that.
Well, so now you're
Wouldn't our
okay.
system?
That's
Wouldn't our
just
solar system?
it's a version of bad faith
Sorry,
to
go
just
ahead.
you don't have an actual intention of coming to an understanding or a conclusion or sticking to your point and doing so in good faith, where you can actually come to some agreement or some understanding. If you have a rebuttal, then you have to do that rebuttal. But to just bail and kind of do a half insult ad hom is
No, I just don't want to discuss that topic with Witsit because he is literally making so much stuff up that it's impossible to grab it at any point and discuss that point, and that's why I am not interested in a discussion with Witsit.
so what did he
claim that.
What did he make up then? If you thought if you think he made something up, you can still do that in good faith. You can say, "Hey, this is wrong" or whatever. The thing is, it started with the naturalism and how you run into issues, and this is the issue that you run into, one of them. So that's why it was brought up. So it just
Name one thing I made up. Since I made so much up, you should be able to name one thing, right?
That electrons doesn't exist, that gravity is electrostatics, that there are superfluids somewhere in sky. That is all stuff that you pulled out of your ass. And that's why I'm not interested in discussing this stuff with
That
you.
was not part of this conversation. This conversation was a conversation with me. Witsit was just piggybacking off of it about a specific comment because he saw you didn't address my point. So since you said that, you should be fine clarifying to the room, since the entire point was that 96 to 97% of the universe is made of dark matter, and you can only correctly predict stuff, quote unquote, within our solar system or nearby in our galaxy. Once you get outside the galaxy, you're cooked. Would you like to tell the room, do you disagree that the mainstream model declares that over 90% of the universe is dark matter and energy?
I don't know the number, so I cannot disagree or agree with you on that.
Okay,
Why did you call
Google
it
search would do
bullshit
it for you.
earlier then? Why did you say it was just bullshit then?
No, I said it's bullshit that you claim that our entire model is false then. Only because we publicly say that there is something that we not yet have discovered.
No, you said it's not 96%. That's just bullshit, quote unquote.
Yeah, and you don't remember the number. He said 97. So why are you engaging in this discussion? That's exactly the point why I don't want to discuss it with you. And while you are present, it's impossible to discuss it with someone else.
Okay, first of all, you're not discussing it with Piezo either. Secondly, it's actually in between 96 and 97%.
Because you are jumping in all the time.
You just admitted you don't know the number, but just a second ago, you dismissed his point saying it's not 97%. That's just bullshit. And now you're admitting you don't even know.
Okay, go back in the recording. I never said that 97% is bullshit. I said that claiming that we don't know or we only know less than that is bullshit.
Okay, I will bet you $1,000 that you specifically said that the number, the percentage was not. You said that the number was not true. And the only reason I'm making a point to hone in on this is it just shows you're actually just making stuff up.
Yeah, okay. Don't bet about stuff that you don't have.
I have $1,000 in cash right here. What's up? You bet $1,000? Yeah. So
I don't know how often I have to say that. I don't want to discuss that stuff with you right now. And because it's impossible to discuss it in good faith with someone else, because you're always jumping in, I don't want to discuss it. So go on. Someone else.
All Witsit did was sorry, go ahead. All Witsit did was moderate. He just moderated to try to reiterate the point. You didn't want to face the point, and now you're just ad homing Witsit.
No, sorry, Gio. Gio, you are moderating. Witsit is not moderating. Witsit is always engaging the discussion.
But to be fair, Snooze, I brought the argument forward. Then you didn't actually engage my point, and that's when Witsit came and repeated what I had already said back to you to try to get you to engage with it. He did not bring anything new forward. He just took the thing.
I don't object that I did not maybe completely understand your point because that may be something lost in translation and so on. But that's not the point anymore right now because he cannot just say, okay, you did not just engage the point and that's it. He has to start the discussion. And that's what he did. And he did not just moderate.
I wasn't really fully finished, but it's okay. Like I guess I kind of was. It sounded like a point that was good to interject, so that's fine. But I really wanted to kind of point out really basic logic as to why your position cannot be correct if what I'm saying is true. Because if your claim is that we understand gravity really well because on our local scale, it works predictively well. If that is your claim, then the fact that 96+% of the universe is dark matter and energy makes your claim on its face refuted, because it means that your claim is not correct. Your model is not correct in 96+% of cases. How can a model that's 96% wrong be right?
So I just Googled quickly and it says something like 85% of all matter in the universe is dark matter.
I said dark matter and energy. Put them together.
Yeah, they're two different things. So they say like 83 to 85% of all matter is dark matter, and then 96% of the universe at large is dark matter and dark energy.
I'm not refuting what you said, but this one is from chandra.harvard.edu, and it's part of the Chandra X-ray Observatory through NASA. This specific site says the universe is mostly dark, about 96% consisting of dark energy, about is 69%, and then dark matter is 26. I don't know these different numbers.
These are similar numbers that I had.
That's more than 100%.
Yeah, I've definitely read like
because you cannot just add the energy and the matter together.
What? That's how it's normally cited. Normally, by the official sources of NASA and universities, they cite dark matter and energy together.
Even if it wasn't 85%, right? That means you got a 15% on your exam, bro. You failed.
Well, I mean, I'm using ChatGPT Premium right now, and it's saying that dark matter plus dark energy together make up about 95% of the total energy density of the universe. Because you remember, in your model, matter and energy are equivalent to one another. The universe is going through this constant cycle of energetic exchange back and forth between matter and raw energy.
Yes.
Okay, so
just to clarify for the room, the confusion with the numbers, just real fast, right? Okay, so when you're saying like 69% and 20-something% that add up to make 95%, that's what percent of the universe is dark matter and dark energy. What percent of total matter in the universe is dark? That's 83%. That's a totally different number. That's just what percentage of matter in the universe is dark. And then dark matter and dark energy together make up over 96%. And that's a certain percentage of matter, certain percentage of energy, right? So it's just like got to be very specific with how you're discussing the percentages because they don't all reference the same thing.
Yeah, just put it in chat, Snooze. So I think we can move on now.
I'm fine with that. I said I don't know actual numbers. You claimed first 97%, now it's 95%, and so on. Okay.
That doesn't change the argument, bro. The 2% doesn't change the argument.
Let's forget the numbers. Can you please again bring your claim?
Okay, so if 95 roughly percent, the exact number being off by 1 or 2% doesn't really matter, okay? Because I've seen 96, I've seen 97, I've seen 95. The estimates are all close to each other. We'll use 95. Okay, doesn't matter. Doesn't change the argument. If 95% of the universe completely contradicts the mainstream model of gravity, how can the mainstream model of gravity be correct if it's 95% wrong?
But it's not wrong. We just so
Bro,
there is a difference. Wait a second. There is a difference between saying it's completely wrong, or there is matter that we don't see, or stuff that cause gravity that we do not see or not detect. Just based on our calculation, it should be there.
Yeah, but dude, if Witsit came up, he was talking last night with Professor Parks all about, plasma and electrostatic energy and so on, and all of these discussions. If Witsit came up with a whole model and he was like, well, it works, but there's 95% of it that's off, you guys would go nuts. You guys would go wild being like 95%. There would be the mocking, the ridicule till the end of time. So why is it if Witsit came up with a model that has some need for, some other named, instead of dark matter, it would be called whatever matter, why would you not accept that? I'm sure you would not. But for this one, you just totally write it off and defend it as if there's just this thing that hasn't been discovered, even though the actual model of gravity that is claimed to be does not work currently, which is why they had to bring in dark matter to even put a filler in. Why do you accept the filler? Why do you accept this fabricated concept? You know, and
So
then
this
still defend the whole model instead of actually questioning it more.
Okay, so this 95% is mostly in the intergalactic space. So we see, for example, how galaxies move, how I mean also like galaxies between each other and towards each other, and if they are moving, if they are getting closer or not, and why they are getting closer, and which speeds, and so on. So the intergalactic space and also the interstellar space is so much space. Just it's way more than 95%. So we see that the normal condensed matter, the stuff that we see, is a very, very tiny fraction. And in the space in between, there is something that we don't know. And it's not like we have 95% of the knowledge is not there, or our predictions are 95% off. That's not the case. Our predictions are very accurately. The thing is that, for example, also like the gas laws, there is a constant. We don't know why that constant is there, but there is a constant that makes it work and that makes it predictable. And the same is with the dark matter. And just claiming we don't know 95%, that's, in my opinion, wrong. We don't know one part. How does that gravitational effect being caused?
Your predictions are not right. That's where the dark matter came from. Like the coma cluster, the gravitational prediction was off by 99%. It only had 1% of the mass needed. Your prediction was incredibly off. It was 99% off. And this whole idea about like, oh, that's just when we get out into space. It's like they claim our own Milky Way galaxy is 85 to 90% dark matter. So it's like it's the dark matter. It's not even known to exist, right? It's literally it comes from the fact that the predictions were wrong and don't work.
Yeah, as Pluto also comes from the fact that the predictions are wrong, and then we checked what it is and we found something.
We never found dark matter. That's why it's called dark matter. Dark means we can't find it.
Yes.
So we didn't
At
find
the
anything.
moment where they predicted, at the time where they predicted Pluto, they didn't find it either, but then they looked at there and then they found it. So, of course,
been a
there may be
century.
something that we are now predicting because we know there is something causing that gravitational effect and we are actually researching on it.
What's
But
it
you
been
get the
like
problem. You
70,
keep saying
80
we know.
years?
Yeah, it's been almost a century, and you keep saying we know it's there. No, you literally don't know it's there. That's why people in your own paradigm are proposing different gravitational theories like modified Newtonian dynamics that do away with dark matter entirely because there's tons of evidence that have falsified the idea that it's there.
Real quick, they actually just did a prediction. Sabine Hassenfelfer made a video on it, and they made a prediction with GR dark matter, and then they did a prediction with MON modified Newtonian dynamics, and the MON one came way closer.
Yeah, it's like what dark matter and dark energy are. They're literally like this is what they actually are because they're not defined in a physical sense. They're actually a quantification of the error in the GR/gravitational model. That's what they are. There's a set of predictions for what the universe should look like and do and be. They looked at the predictions, they compared it to the observations, and 95+% of it was wrong. So they said, well, we know that we're right anyway. We have to be right. So since we're 95% wrong, we'll just say that the 95% error that we have, we're still right. It's just stuff we can't see. That's literally what it is. If you applied that method to anything else in the entire realm of science, y'all would lose your minds.
Well, like Gio said, if Witsit came up with something that was 95% short, you guys would be shitting bricks.
Well, they're missing 95% of the intermediate fossils. So it's only the controversial science. Might be more.
That's so good, Taylor. I love the freaking dude. It's crazy, dude. It's so funny. Like when they come up with this fake and gay science trying to explain this like naturalistic 16 billion year old space dust world, and then you have some creationist just from like the middle of like the mountains of Kentucky come out and send some fossil samples of dinosaur bones to the University of Georgia and be like, "Hey, buddy, I got some bones. Not gonna tell you that they're dinosaur bones, but I got some bones here from some animals. They're animal bones. Could you carbon date these animal bones for me? University of Georgia Applied Radioisotope Lab." And they're like, "Sure, buddy." And then they date it. They're like, "Yep, we got around 20,000 years old on these bones. Here you go." And then a couple years later, they find their work on the internet saying, "Hey, the University of Georgia lab dated our dinosaur bones and found that they were 20K years old roughly." And then, banned them from using the laboratory ever again. It's funny
It's
how that
obviously
works.
you don't understand radiometric dating because carbon only has up to about 50,000 years viability.
That's the
for
entire point, buddy.
older-
The problem.
That's the entire point.
How is that the problem? If you were to argon
point-
date them or argon lead date them, you would get a much older age. That's
Because,
consistent.
Rich-
It's consistent among.
Okay, I'll answer
the
you if you let me talk.
measurements.
I'll answer if you let me talk. It's because if there was a 70 million year old dinosaur bone being sent to that lab, then when they tried to get a carbon-14 date from it, they couldn't detect a single carbon-14 atom because it wouldn't exist because it would have already decayed a long time ago.
It could have been contaminated, right?
It
The carbon
wasn't
could have
though.
been
See, they've
put
already
in.
tried that. GG, bro. They've already tried that. Doesn't work.
Yeah, they've had other people carbon date dinosaur bones too that actually worked with these things. And
What do
Just
you
so
guys
you're
not
can you
understand?
stop interrupting?
Carbon dating
Can you
only is
stop
viable
interrupting?
within about 50,000 years.
Can you stop
That's our
interrupting?
conclusion. Your premise is our conclusion. Once again, thanks for playing.
Okay, so what's
Let me
your
know when
answer
I'm
to
not gonna
potassium
let you guys
argon dating?
Hold on. First of all, real quick, this is kind of a topic
Yeah, let's
change.
bring
If
it-
you if you guys,
bring it
I don't know
down
if
a
you're
bit.
going to roll with it. If someone's moderating to bring it back to the previous topic, we could do that. But Taylor just got interrupted, so at the very least, let's let Taylor. But we got to figure out if we're shifting topics or if the old one was finished or not. But Taylor did. Just
So everyone should stay chill, man. Everyone should stay chill. It shouldn't be like
Yeah,
a
just
real
chill.
like aggressive thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, I do want to get back to the last topic, but I just wanted to say, there was multiple people actually do the dinosaur dating. Multiple people have found carbon-14 dinosaur bones, and it's so funny. They're like, "You're not supposed to. It only lasts 50,000 years." Okay, that's the point. Every time they do it, they find carbon-14, but all the carbon-14 is supposed to be gone after, as you say, 50,000 years. So why is it still there every single time? And then it's funny you mentioned phosphorus argon, because they actually did do a phosphorus argon dating. They sent in another anonymous sample from, I think it was Mount St. Helens, which they know the date it erupted. It was like 10 or 20 years later. At 10 or 20 years later, they actually sent in the rock that just, had solidified from the volcano. They knew the age that it happened. And then guess what? It came back millions of years old, even though they knew it was only 10 years old. So you got to bring a viable method that can differentiate between young and old samples viably and repeatably. Thank you. That's all. We can move back to the last topic, though. I don't care.
No, I'm done talking dark matter. I mean, that conversation reached a dead end. There's nothing left to. It's beating a dead horse at this point. But here, Rich, I just tagged you in the chat with the receipt, bro. So there you go. If you want to go take it up with the University of Georgia and tell them that they don't know how to, clean, wash, ultrasonic bath, dry, gently crush, dilute in acetic acid, remove surface absorption and secondary carbonates. Ensure evolved carbon dioxide is removed from the interior. Fresh acid is allowed to reach the microsurfaces. Treat it with hydrochloric acid, and then filter, rinse with deionized water, and heat to dissolve collagen and leave humic substances in the precipitate, and then test it. If you think they don't know how to do that, then you can make that claim that Georgia's university's lab's not accredited and none of their work can be trusted. But I'm not going to make that claim. I'm going to say that they did this sample just like every other sample they ever get, and they did it right, and that's what the machine read. I'm going to take it as a real result because that's how science works.
Okay, so do you take that to be the age of the Earth, or?
No, I don't take that to be the age of the Earth. I take that to
how
be
old
a
do you think the
real
Earth is
result.
then?
Probably around 6,000 years or so.
So why would you say that you get a carbon date of about, what'd you say, 40,000 years? I'm not in my computer right now. I'm cutting an onion. And then think that the Earth is 6,000 years old.
Well, I never said I believe that the methods of radioisotope dating are accurate. I just said it was a real result. By real, I mean within the constraints of your model and your testing method as accepted by mainstream science. It's a real result.
Okay, why do you think the Earth is 6,000 years old?
Well, that's a separate conversation. I want you to address the dinosaur bone first instead of trying to pivot.
I told you I'm not at my computer right now. I can't look at your source.
Okay, well, it's on the Discord chats, the University of Georgia Center for Applied Isotope Studies.
Oh, I already did the first time.
Yeah, so, I mean, can you at least engage in good faith? Because unless you think you're going to come back in 2 minutes and look at it and I'm just going to be making up a giant fabrication that no one else in the room is going to call me out on, you should probably engage with it as if it is actually sitting there.
Oh, it's something to look into, isn't it? Something that
Yeah, that's
requires
how-
a bit more looking into. So
Yeah, you're
while we have
demonstrating
the
your lack
time
of
and we're
faith.
having a conversation, why do you think the Earth is 6,000 years old?
So you're going to choose not to answer because you can't verify the thing that I said is sitting there, which I've already described to you.
Yeah, because I have to look into it further. What's the issue with saying that?
I said treat it as if it were true and engage in good faith. Because unless you're ready to claim that you think that it's fabricated and I made it all up, unless that's the thing you're going to go with, there's no reason you wouldn't engage as if
Well,
it's
it's kind of
true.
pointless, isn't it? Like you're saying they got this date on this rock. I don't believe it, but I want you to answer for it. It's kind of dumb. Why don't we just talk about your position?
It's not dumb. Can you steel man what my position is, please?
No, you haven't provided anything about your position. You just said that they've carbon dated a blind sample that was sent to a university and they got a much younger age than what we would normally expect. So I'm asking you how old the Earth is and how do you know?
How's that relevant?
How is me answering the question that you just asked me relevant?
No. How is the thing that I said about the lab testing the bone relevant? Why is what
because
I
you think that there's a flaw in the mechanism of radiometric dating?
Yeah, I mean it's a juxtaposition of only two possible outcomes. Either A, the dinosaur bone is not 70 million years old, or B, radioisotope dating is inherently flawed. Those are the only two possible options because you used radioisotope dating to date the bone and it got a date that wasn't that old. So either it is that old and the test is wrong, or the test is right and it's not that old.
Okay.
Which problem do you want to face?
I told you I have to look into those study once I have a chance to look over it.
All right. Yeah.
So why do you think the Earth is 6,000 years old? What dating method do you use?
That's a good question. It's a good dating method to differentiate something young from something old, so we can actually see whether something's young or old. What can reliably do that? Which one?
Yeah, so they only acknowledge the validity, and when I say validity, I'm saying that very loosely, the quote-unquote validity of what we know as comparative dating methods, and they're not absolutely valid. They are good estimations, but they're still flawed. We don't have such a thing as an absolute dating method for very ancient things.
I'm not asking for an absolute method. I'm asking for the method that you utilized in order to get the 6,000-year-old age that you claim.
Oh, yeah, that's just the history of the world as revealed in Scripture.
Okay, so in Scripture, it gives you what, a date that the universe was made, or how did you come to get 6,000 out of Scripture?
Now.
I'm genuinely curious. Well, it's about his message.
Can we differentiate
Are
old and
you really
young?
just going to say it was divinely revealed to me that the Earth is 6,000 years old?
What is the dating method that can say that yes, it's definitively this old? Do you have any?
Apparently the Bible. That's what he
See,
says.
you have to deflect. That's all.
I'm critiquing his position. You're deflecting by pushing back onto mine. Right?
Well, I critiqued your position, and all you could say was you can't engage in it because you haven't actually got your computer to look at the thing I provided. And I said,
Yeah, because
well, why don't you engage
it hinges.
as if it were true? That would devolve into a separate conversation. And I know that you're trying really hard to get into a conversation where you want to argue about the Bible and faith and all that stuff. But I'm trying to keep it on science right now.
We can keep
Well,
it
why
on
isn't
science.
your position based on science?
Okay, that's just all right.
Yeah,
Can we go back to the dating method? Have you guys ever heard of Robert Gentry? With the polynomium halos that were discovered in all the granites?
Yes, polonium halo. Primordial granite polonium halos in the absence of uranium. Yeah.
Yep. So there's a certain decay rate chain, right? It starts from one element and then it goes to another element, and that determines like how much time has passed, right? According to this dating method, right? So the problem is in the narrative, right? There's these polonium halos that are found in all of the granites and all of the different continents, right? And they should have decayed already based on their theory that, the granites basically cooled on the Earth over millions of years. And if that were the case, then you wouldn't find any of these polonium halos that are still left intact, which indicate that it was created instantly.
Yeah, the reason being specifically because polonium is not a naturally occurring element. It is actually a radioactive decay product of the uranium decay chain. And based off of the half-life of uranium and all the intermediate isotopes in the decay chain prior to reaching polonium, we know the minimum time required for polonium to be produced from a radioactive decay chain. But when they look the polonium inside these granites, there is a halo or a ring around the center, as if this, as the pattern that you would see were it to be made by a decay, but yet you do not see the uranium or its daughter products. It's just polonium.
We get it. You don't accept modern science or the conclusions it comes to. I'm trying to get to the bottom of where you do base your position on.
Don't.
Can you address the point that I just brought up, or are you still?
I don't know anything about polonium halos, so no, I can't talk about it.
Okay, so then
why are we so scared to talk about your position?
It's called engaging with the point, dude.
Yeah, no one's like, if you want to have a conversation,
we're talking about the age of the Earth, right?
Yeah,
and I'm asking, how do you know the age of the Earth that you claim? And you just said divinely revealed through Scripture, and I asked, how is it revealed through Scripture? In what portion? Can you cite me where in Scripture? Okay, so then you ascribe ages to those genealogies calculated by what?
So, just to be clear, you're trying to go down this rabbit hole of discussing Scripture. I'm not afraid to defend my faith, but just acknowledge that you don't want to talk about science anymore and you want to talk about the Bible.
I want to talk about your position, therefore not science at this moment.
So my position, I didn't make any positive claims. All I said was that your claims, the claims of your model are incorrect. So I actually was giving negation or falsification of other people's positive claims.
I know. This is what you guys love to do. You love to say globe wrong and then never buck up and give your own position to be scrutinized.
No, falsification is independent replacement, bro. I don't have to give you any position.
I'd love to hear it.
But you do realize that's going to start a biblical discussion.